The Force had always been the supreme power in the galaxy, an energy field binding all living things, wielded by Jedi and Sith, shaping destinies across 1,000 generations. But on this day, something else touched the fabric of reality above Coruscant, something that had no connection to midi-chlorians or the cosmic balance, and the sheer impossibility of it sent ripples through the Force that every sensitive being in the Republic capital felt like ice water down their spine. The dimensional rift opened without warning in Coruscant's upper atmosphere, a wound in space itself that blazed with energies the galaxy had never witnessed. It wasn't hyperspace. No ship emerged, no calculated jump coordinates, just raw, universal trauma as the barriers between realities tore like fabric. Through that impossible breach fell 7 figure, their fall arrested not by repulsor lifts or the Force, but by powers entirely their own. Superman hit Coruscant's atmosphere first, his Kryptonian physiology automatically adjusting to the new environment, even as his mind reeled from the transition. One moment he'd been in the Watchtower coordinating a response to Darkseid's latest invasion. The next, Cyborg's boom tube had malfunctioned catastrophically, and reality itself had folded around the Justice League. Now he floated 3,000 meters above an alien cityscape that stretched to every horizon, a world-spanning metropolis of impossible scale beneath twin suns that felt almost right but subtly wrong against his skin. "Everyone sound off," he commanded through the League's communication system, relief flooding him as 6 confirmations came back immediately. The team was intact, if thoroughly displaced. Wonder Woman descended beside him, the lasso of truth gleaming at her hip, her experienced warrior's gaze already cataloging threats and tactical positions. "This isn't Earth, not any Earth I've seen across the multiverse." "Confirmed." Cyborg's voice crackled with electronic distortion as his system struggled to process the torrents of unfamiliar data flooding his sensors. "I'm picking up technology signatures that don't match anything in my databases. Communications on frequencies we've never used, and..." He paused, his cybernetic eye flickering. "I'm detecting thousands of spacecraft in orbital patterns around this planet. Thousands. This is a spacefaring civilization on a scale that makes Earth look primitive." Below them, the Jedi Temple's meditation chamber erupted in activity as Master Yoda's eyes snapped open, his ancient connection to the Force screaming warnings about an arrival that should have been impossible. He felt them, 7 presences burning in the Force like stars, yet fundamentally different from anything he'd encountered in 800 years of life. Not Force-sensitive in the traditional sense, yet radiating power that made even the strongest Jedi seem dim by comparison. "Disturbed the Force is," Yoda said, rising with speed that belied his age. "To the council chamber, we must go. Arrived, something has, something other." Batman's tactical mind was already processing their situation from his position hovering via grapnel-assisted glider deployment. "We need intel before making contact, Cyborg. Can you tap into their communication networks?" "Working on it," Cyborg replied, his technopathic abilities interfacing with the billions of data streams flowing through Coruscant's networks. "Their language is..." "Wait, I'm getting automatic translation protocols. Their technology is helping me understand them." He paused, surprise evident in his synthetic voice. "Bruce, this galaxy has faster than light travel, casual FTL, ships jumping in and out of, they call it hyperspace. The flash vibrated with barely contained energy, his connection to the Speed Force feeling stretched and thin across dimensional barriers, but still present. "Guys, I'm feeling off. My speed is there, but it's like running through water instead of air. The physics here are different." "We're not in our universe anymore," Green Lantern said, his ring glowing with emerald light as he scanned the surrounding space. Ring, analyze local stellar radiation and gravitational constants. The ring's synthesized voice responded, "Analysis complete. Universal constants vary by 0.03% from baseline reality. Local star classification, G-type main sequence, output within normal parameters. Warning, power battery charge at 73%. Recommend conservation protocols until resupply possible." Aquaman floated beside the others, looking distinctly uncomfortable, this far from any ocean. "So we're stranded in an alien galaxy with no way home, limited resources and no idea who or what we're about to encounter. Fantastic." "Not quite no idea," Cyborg interjected, streams of data flowing through his consciousness as he cracked deeper into Coruscant's networks. "I'm accessing what looks like their version of the HoloNet, a galaxy-spanning information network. This place is called Coruscant, capital of something called the Galactic Republic. And Bruce, you're going to want to hear this. They're in the middle of a massive civil war. Republic versus Separatists, billions of combatants across thousands of worlds." Superman's enhanced vision had been scanning the cityscape, and now he focused on a massive ziggurat structure that radiated a sense of peace and purpose that seemed to call to him despite its alien nature. "There's a building that feels important, different from the others. It's..." He never finished the sentence. A dozen Republic LAAT gunships screamed into position around the Justice League, their ball turrets trained on the hovering heroes. The lead gunship's holographic projector activated, displaying a clone trooper commander whose voice carried authority, despite the identical face shared by his entire squadron. "Unidentified entities, you are in restricted airspace above the Galactic Senate and Jedi Temple. Power down and prepare to be escorted to Republic security. Any hostile action will be met with appropriate force." Batman's hand moved to his utility belt. Superman raised a calming hand toward his teammate while keeping his attention on the gunships. Wonder Woman's grip tightened on her sword hilt, but she held position. The flash vibrated slightly, ready to move if needed, despite his diminished connection to the Speed Force. "We mean no harm," Superman called out, his voice carrying across the distance with practiced diplomacy. "We're displaced. Not from this galaxy. We need to speak with whoever's in charge." In the Jedi Temple below, Mace Windu joined Yoda in the council chamber, along with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, who'd been summoned from their quarters. The holographic display showed the 7 strangers surrounded by Republic gunships, and even through the technological medium, the Jedi could feel the unprecedented power radiating from these newcomers. "They're not droids," Anakin observed, leaning forward with intense curiosity. "But their technology, that man is half machine. The one in green is generating an energy field I've never seen, and the caped one in blue is just floating there like gravity doesn't exist." "Powerful they are," Yoda said quietly. "In the Force, sense them I cannot, yet there they stand, defying nature itself. To the temple, bring them we should. Questions, many questions, we have." Obi-Wan stroked his beard thoughtfully. "Master, we're in the middle of a war. Bringing unknown entities with that level of power into the temple could be more dangerous to leave them unguided, Mace interrupted, his tone brooking no argument. If they're truly not from this galaxy, they need to understand what they've walked into, and we need to understand what they are. The decision was made. The clone commander received new orders. Escort, not arrest. Guide these strangers to the Jedi Temple, where the Council would determine if they were emissaries, warriors, or something the galaxy had never seen before. Superman watched the gunships shift from aggressive posture to escort formation and allowed himself a small smile. First contact hadn't resulted in violence. That was something, but as his eyes swept across the impossibly vast city planet beneath them, and his mind grappled with the reality of an entire galaxy at war, he realized the Justice League had fallen into something far more complex than a simple alien encounter. They'd arrived in the middle of a conflict that might determine the fate of trillions, and whether they wanted to be or not, 7 of Earth's greatest heroes were about to become players in a game whose rules they didn't understand, on a board that spanned the stars. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The Jedi Temple's council chamber was a place of contemplation and judgment, where the wisest beings in the galaxy gathered to guide the Order, and by extension, the Republic itself. But today, the chamber held an atmosphere of unprecedented tension as 7 strangers stood before the assembled masters, their very presence creating ripples in the Force that no amount of meditation could quiet. Superman stood at the center of the group, his natural leadership presence evident even among heroes of such caliber. To his right, Wonder Woman maintained a warrior's readiness, tempered by diplomatic poise. Batman hung slightly back, his detective's mind cataloging every detail of the chamber, the Jedi, and the power dynamics at play. The Flash vibrated almost imperceptibly, his metabolism processing the strange new reality. Green Lantern's ring cast a faint emerald glow. Aquaman stood with arms crossed, clearly uncomfortable this far from any ocean. Cyborg's cybernetic eye flickered as he passively absorbed data from the temple systems. Master Yoda regarded them with ancient eyes that had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. Beside him, Mace Windu's expression was stern and evaluating. Obi-Wan Kenobi watched with careful curiosity, while Anakin Skywalker couldn't hide his fascination, particularly with the technological wonder that was Cyborg and the sheer physical presence of Superman. "Welcome you are to the Jedi Temple," Yoda began, his voice carrying weight beyond his diminutive stature. "Disturbed the Force was by your arrival. Explain you must, from where you come and why here you are." Superman stepped forward slightly. "My name is Kal-El, though I'm also known as Superman. We are the Justice League, protectors of our world. We come from..." He paused, searching for words to explain dimensional travel to beings who might not understand the concept. "Another reality entirely, a universe parallel to yours. We were in the middle of a mission when our technology malfunctioned and tore open a rift between dimensions. We didn't choose to come here, and frankly, we don't know how to get back." Mace Windu's eyes narrowed. "Another reality? The Force encompasses all realities, all dimensions, yet we cannot sense you through it. You claim to be protectors, but of what? And with what authority?" Batman spoke for the first time, his voice a controlled growl that commanded attention despite its low volume. "We protect the innocent, We uphold justice. We stand against tyranny, oppression, and threats that ordinary people can't face alone. We answer to our conscience and the people we've sworn to defend. No government controls us, though we work with legitimate authorities when our goals align. A dangerous philosophy, Mace observed. Power without oversight, without connection to the Force's guidance, operating on individual judgment alone. How do you know your actions serve the greater good? Wonder Woman's voice carried the authority of an Amazon princess and the weight of centuries. Because we have failed, Master Jedi. We have made mistakes, witnessed the consequences, and learned from them. Justice is not about being infallible. It's about being accountable and always striving to do better. Obi-Wan leaned forward with interest. You speak of justice as warriors speak of honor. Tell us about your world. What threats do you face that require defenders such as yourselves? Cyborg activated a holographic display from his systems, projecting images of Earth into the center of the council chamber. Our planet is home to 7 billion humans and various meta-human populations. We face threats ranging from criminal organizations to alien invasions, from interdimensional conquerors to rogue artificial intelligences. The League formed because individually, none of us could handle every crisis. Together, we protect not just our world, but often our entire universe. The hologram shifted to show images of past battles, Darkseid's invasion, Brainiac's assault, the crime syndicate incursion. The Jedi watched with varying degrees of shock as they witnessed the scale of destruction and the League's responses. Anakin couldn't contain himself. That being Darkseid, he destroyed entire cities with energy beams from his eyes. And you, Superman, you fought him directly. Your strength must be considerable, Batman interrupted, shooting Anakin a warning glance that the young Jedi didn't catch. The League's capabilities vary. Some of us rely on skill and technology. He gestured to himself. Others possess abilities beyond normal human limits. He indicated his teammates. What matters is that we work together, complementing each other's strengths and covering weaknesses. Yoda's ears twitched with interest. The Force, know you do? Jedi and Sith encountered, have you? No, Superman admitted. In our universe, there's no Force as you describe it. We have magic, cosmic entities, and various energy sources. But nothing quite like what I'm sensing here. This Force of yours, it pervades everything, doesn't it? I can almost feel it, like a current just beyond my perception. Interesting, Mace said, exchanging glances with Yoda. Most beings can't sense the Force at all without training or innate sensitivity, yet you perceive it despite being outside it somehow. He stood, walking slowly around the assembled heroes. This war we're fighting, the Clone Wars, it pits the Galactic Republic against the Confederacy of Independent Systems. The Separatists claim the Republic is corrupt, inefficient, and no longer serves the people. We Jedi serve as generals and peacekeepers, trying to end the conflict with minimal bloodshed. Jedi as generals? Wonder Woman's tone carried disapproval. You're peacekeepers serving in a military capacity. That seems contradictory. Obi-Wan's expression showed he'd wrestled with that very question. We serve the Republic because the alternative is chaos. The Separatists are led by Count Dooku, a former Jedi who turned to the dark side of the Force. Their droid armies show no mercy. If we don't fight, millions die. Batman's eyes narrowed behind his cowl. Former Jedi, dark side. I'm hearing ideological language wrapped around a political conflict. Tell me, Master Kenobi, who benefits most from this war continuing? The question hung in the air like a blade. Several Jedi shifted uncomfortably. It was Yoda who answered, his voice heavy with centuries of wisdom. Perceptive you are. Troubling questions we ourselves have asked. Shadows there are in this conflict. Clear. The path forward is not. Green Lantern's ring pulsed as he scanned the room, analyzing the Jedi themselves. These lightsabers you carry, plasma contained in magnetic fields, elegant design, and your abilities, you're manipulating gravitational and kinetic forces at a quantum level, using this force energy. It's not magic, not exactly. It's more like you're interfacing directly with the fundamental forces of the universe. Anakin grinned, warming to these strangers who understood technology and power. You can see all that just by looking? Your ring is amazing. How does it work? Willpower, Hal Jordan replied simply. The ring responds to the user's will, creating constructs limited only by imagination and determination. It's powered by the emotional spectrum, specifically the green light of willpower channeled through a central power battery. Emotion powers your technology? Mace's skepticism was evident. The Jedi teach that emotion leads to the dark side. Passion, attachment, fear, these cloud judgment and lead to suffering. The Flash spoke up, his voice carrying youthful energy despite the serious situation. With respect, Master Windu, that sounds like you're teaching people to suppress fundamental parts of being alive. Emotions aren't the enemy. It's what you do with them that matters. I've been angry, scared, even hateful at times. What defines me is choosing to act heroically despite those feelings, not pretending they don't exist. Well said, Wonder Woman agreed. The Amazons teach that emotion and reason must work in harmony. Denying either makes you incomplete. Yoda regarded the Flash with interest. Young you are, yet wisdom you speak. Much to learn from each other we may have. He turned to address the full council. A decision we must make. Stranded these warriors are. Dangerous their power is. But good their intentions seem. Aid them, shall we? Or watch them we must? Mace Windu stood firm. I propose a conditional alliance. They claim to be heroes. Let them prove it. The war provides ample opportunity to demonstrate their capabilities and intentions. If they truly stand for justice, let them help us end this conflict. Superman exchanged glances with his teammates. Batman gave an almost imperceptible shake of his head, a warning against commitment without more information. But Wonder Woman's slight nod suggested the opposite. Prove their worth through action. The League was divided before they'd even begun. We'd like to help, Superman said carefully. But we need to understand more about this war, its causes, and its players. In our experience, conflicts are rarely as simple as they first appear. We've learned the hard way that intervening without understanding the full picture can make situations worse. Wise words, Obi-Wan acknowledged. Perhaps a trial period would serve all parties. You accompany us on a mission, observe how the war is conducted, and make your own judgment about where truth lies. And you can observe us, Batman added, to determine if we're actually the heroes we claim to be or something more dangerous. Anakin stepped forward eagerly. Master Yoda, Obi-Wan and I are scheduled to reinforce the defense of Christophsis tomorrow. The Separatists have laid siege to the planet. If the Justice League came with us, they could see the war firsthand, help save lives, and we could assess their abilities in actual combat. Christophsis, Cyborg systems were already accessing the data. Outer Rim world. Current population displaced by droid occupation. Republic forces attempting to break the siege. He looked at Superman. Civilians are suffering. Whatever the politics of this war, people need help right now. That decided it for Superman. Politics and understanding could come later. People were in danger. We'll go. We'll help defend Christophilus. But understand this, Masters. We fight to protect innocent lives, not to advance political agendas. If we discover that either side in this war is acting unjustly, we'll oppose them regardless of who they are. A principled stance, Mace said, though his tone suggested he wasn't sure if that was a compliment or a concern. Very well. You'll deploy with Skywalker and Kenobi at dawn. May the Force be with you. And may justice prevail, Wonder Woman replied. As the meeting concluded and the League was escorted to guest quarters, Batman pulled Superman aside. Clark, we're walking into a war we don't understand, in a galaxy we know nothing about, with powers that make us walking weapons of mass destruction. We need to be careful. Agreed, Superman said quietly. But did you feel it? Something's wrong here, Bruce. The Jedi are good people, I think, but they're missing something. There's a shadow over this whole situation. I noticed, Batman replied grimly, and I'm going to find out what it is. Across the temple in Chancellor Palpatine's office, a hooded figure stood before a holographic display showing 7 strangers whose power signatures blazed like stars. Darth Sidious smiled beneath his hood, already calculating how beings of such unprecedented might could serve or threaten his grand design. The Justice League had arrived in the Clone Wars. The galaxy would never be the same. The journey to Christophsis aboard the Republic cruiser Resolute gave the Justice League their first real glimpse of galactic-scale warfare. The hangar bay alone could have housed dozens of Earth's largest aircraft carriers filled with L-8 gunships, ARC-170 starfighters, and row upon row of clone troopers preparing for deployment. The clones themselves presented an ethical quandary that Batman had immediately flagged. An army of identical soldiers, all genetically engineered from a single template, bred specifically for war. It's slavery, Aquaman said bluntly as they walked through the hangar, his voice low enough that only the League could hear through their communication system. They're created to fight and die for a republic that considers them property, not people. The Jedi don't see it that way, Wonder Woman countered. Though her tone suggested she shared his concerns, they've rationalized it as necessary for the Republic's survival. But yes, Arthur, it troubles me deeply. Superman watched the clone troopers with his X-ray vision, seeing beneath their identical armor to the identical bodies, the identical faces. Yet despite their genetic uniformity, he noticed variations in their equipment, personalized armor markings, different postures and attitudes. These weren't mindless drones. They were individuals trapped in identical shells, making the best of circumstances they'd never chosen. Anakin Skywalker approached them with the easy confidence of a Jedi who'd seen too much combat for his years. Behind him walked his Padawan, a young Togruta named Ahsoka Tano, whose curious eyes kept darting to the League with barely suppressed excitement. We'll be dropping into a hot zone, Anakin explained, pulling up a holographic tactical display. Separatist forces control most of the planet. They've got a shield generator protecting their main positions, and their droid army outnumbers our clone forces 3-1. Our objective is to punch through their lines, disable that shield, and allow Republic reinforcements to land. Batman studied the tactical map with practiced efficiency. Frontal assault against entrenched positions with air superiority on their side. High casualty rates expected. What's the Separatist leadership situation? General Horm Loathsome commands their ground forces, Obi-Wan Kenobi said, joining the briefing. Competent tactician, but predictable. He'll commit his droid forces in waves, trying to overwhelm our positions through sheer numbers. Droids, Cyborg mused, his cybernetic eye processing the data. Artificial soldiers, no moral qualms, no fatigue, easily replaceable. He paused. I might be able to interface with their command network, disrupt their coordination. Anakin's eyes lit up. You can hack Separatist battle droids? That would be incredible. We've tried, but their encryption is sophisticated but not impenetrable, Cyborg finished. Give me access to a captured droid's processing core, and I can crack their protocols. Won't be instant, but I can create exploits. The Flash zipped around the tactical display, examining it from every angle in the span of a heartbeat. These shield generators, they're protecting static positions. If I can phase through the energy barrier at the right vibrational frequency, I could disable them from the inside before their forces even know we've attacked. Phase through? Ahsoka asked, confused. Like passing through solid matter. Exactly like that, Flash grinned. My speed lets me vibrate my molecules at frequencies that let me pass through barriers. It's tricky and takes concentration, but shields are just organized energy. I can slip between the frequencies. Obi-Wan stroked his beard thoughtfully. These abilities of yours, they're remarkable. But I must ask, have you fought in a war before? The Clone Wars aren't like facing individual villains or even invasion forces. This is sustained conflict across thousands of worlds. The moral complexities alone. We've fought wars, Wonder Woman said quietly, her hand resting on her sword hilt. I've lived through humanity's darkest hours. I've seen what war does to soldiers, to civilians, to the soul itself. I don't fight because I enjoy it, Master Kenobi. I fight because sometimes it's the only way to protect those who can't protect themselves. But we're not soldiers, Superman added firmly. We're heroes. There's a difference. Soldiers follow orders. We follow our conscience. If we see something in this battle that contradicts our principles, we'll say so. Anakin laughed, though there was an edge to it. Good luck with that. War is all about moral compromises. You think we like sending clones into meat grinders? You think the Council enjoys being generals? We do what we must because the alternative is letting the Separatists win, and their vision of the galaxy is worse than anything the Republic's done. Is it? Batman's question cut through the conversation like a blade. You're absolutely certain about that? You've verified that the Separatists are objectively worse? Or is that just what you've been told? The hangar fell silent. Several clone troopers nearby shifted uncomfortably. Ahsoka looked to her master, confused by the sudden tension. Anakin's hand moved unconsciously toward his lightsaber, then stopped as he realized what he was doing. Are you questioning our commitment to the Republic? Anakin's voice carried warning. Questioning the Jedi Order's judgment. I'm questioning everything, Batman replied evenly. It's what I do. In my experience, wars this large don't happen by accident. Someone benefits, someone's pulling strings. And until I know who and why, I reserve judgment about who the real enemy is. Obi-Wan stepped between them, his diplomatic skills kicking in. a healthy skepticism, though perhaps expressed more tactfully. "Bruce, may I call you Bruce? You're not wrong to question. Many Jedi have similar doubts. But right now, people on Christophsis are suffering under separatist occupation. Whatever the war's larger context, those people need help today. Can we agree on that much?" Superman nodded, giving Batman a look that said, "Save the investigation for later. We can agree on that. Let's focus on the mission. We'll help break the siege, protect civilians, and minimize casualties on all sides, if possible." "All sides?" Ahsoka asked. "You mean including the droids?" "They're artificial intelligence," Cyborg said. "Sentient or semi-sentient, depending on their programming. Destroying them isn't murder exactly, but it's still eliminating thinking beings. I prefer to disable when possible." Green Lantern had been silent throughout the exchange, but now his ring flared as he pulled up a construct showing the planet below. "I'm reading massive energy signatures from the surface. Their shield generator is putting out power equivalent to a small star. And there's something else." He frowned, his ring pulsing. "There's a presence down there. Not technological, something that feels wrong." "The dark side," Obi-Wan confirmed grimly. "Count Dooku may have sent one of his dark side acolytes to oversee the occupation. If so, this mission just became considerably more dangerous." Wonder Woman's hand tightened on her sword. "Then it's fortunate you have us. Diana Prince, Princess of Themyscira, has faced gods and monsters. Whatever darkness awaits on that planet, it will find us ready." The transport shuddered as it entered Christophsis' atmosphere. Through the viewport, the crystal spires of the planet's cities became visible. Beautiful structures now scarred by turbo-laser fire and droid occupation. Smoke rose from multiple points across the capital, and the streets that should have been filled with civilians were instead patrolled by skeletal battle droids. Commander Cody, the orange-armored clone leading the ground forces, approached the group. "We're 30 seconds from landing zone. It's going to be hot. The droids have anti-aircraft batteries covering our approach." "Then we'll clear them," Superman said simply. "Wonder Woman, you're with me. We'll handle air defense. Green Lantern, provide cover for the transports. Flash, Cyborg, stay with the main force and coordinate with the Jedi. Batman, Aquaman, your call." Batman was already grappling to a different part of the ship. "I'll scout ahead, get eyes on their command structure." Aquaman looked uncomfortable, but nodded. "I'll back up the ground assault. My strength should surprise these droids." The transport's doors blew open, and suddenly, they were in it. The full chaos of Clone Wars combat. Blaster fire lit the sky in streams of red and blue. Explosions rocked the cityscape. Vulture droids screamed overhead while Republic gunships returned fire. And into this maelstrom dropped the Justice League. Superman shot into the sky like a missile, his red cape streaming behind him. His heat vision lanced out with surgical precision, slicing through anti-aircraft battery after anti-aircraft battery. The droids manning them didn't even have time to track his movement before their weapons were molten slag. Wonder Woman was right behind him, her speed only marginally less than his, her combat instincts honed over millennia. She deflected incoming fire with her bracers, each impact sending blaster bolts careening back into droid positions with lethal accuracy. Where Superman disabled weapons, Diana destroyed them utterly, her god-forged sword cleaving through durasteel and circuitry like they were paper. "By the Force," Anakin breathed, watching through the transport's viewport as two beings cleared an entire defensive grid in under 30 seconds. They're not even using ships, they're just flying through a combat zone like it's nothing. Green Lantern created a massive energy shield over the transport formation, his willpower made manifest, absorbing every shot the droids could muster. Transports, you're clear for landing. I'll maintain cover until boots are on the ground. The Flash waited exactly 3 seconds after landing before vibrating through the transport's hull and blurring across the battlefield. From the droids' perspective, their forces simply started falling apart. Weapons jammed, command units deactivated, entire formations collapsing as a yellow-red streak moved through them too fast to track or target. Cyborg interfaced with the first droid he encountered, his technopathy ripping through its primitive firewalls. Got it, accessing their tactical network now. Data flooded his consciousness, unit positions, command protocols, shield generator locations, sending coordinates to all friendly forces, and I'm uploading a virus that should disrupt their targeting systems in approximately 2 minutes. Aquaman hit the ground with a shockwave that cracked pavement, his Atlantean strength letting him tear through battle droids with his bare hands. A super tank droid turned its cannons toward him. He grabbed the barrel, twisted it into a pretzel, and used the disabled tank as a projectile to bowl over 3 more droids. Obi-Wan ignited his lightsaber and charged into combat, alongside Commander Cody's clone forces, but he couldn't help watching the League in action. They fought with a level of power and coordination he'd rarely seen outside the greatest Jedi Masters, yet their abilities were entirely non-force-based. It was humbling and, if he was honest, slightly terrifying. Anakin was less contemplative and more enthusiastic, spinning through droid forces with his lightsaber while laughing. Now this is more like it, finally someone who can keep up. But it was Batman who made the most important discovery. While the others engaged in open combat, he'd shadow-stalked through the ruined city until he found the Separatist command center. What he saw through his detective's lens made his blood run cold. The holographic form of Count Dooku addressing a dark-robed figure whose face was hidden, but whose voice carried power that made Batman's strategic mind scream warnings. The Justice League is an unexpected variable, Dooku was saying. Lord Sidious wants them evaluated. If they can be turned, their power could tip the entire war. If not, then they die, the robed figure finished. I will test them personally. Batman recorded everything, his mind already racing through implications. A Sith Lord, this Sidious, manipulating events. Dooku taking orders from someone higher, and now the League was being specifically targeted. He activated his comm. Everyone, listen carefully. We're not just here to break a siege. This whole battle is a trap designed to test us. Someone very powerful wants to know what we're capable of. Be ready for anything. And as if summoned by his words, the ground beneath the Republic forces erupted. From hidden tunnels emerged not just more droids, but something worse. A dark side user wreathed in red lightning, their presence in the Force a void that even the League could feel as wrongness incarnate. The battle for Christophsis had just become far more than a simple military engagement. The Justice League was about to face the dark side of the Force for the first time, and the galaxy would discover exactly what Earth's heroes could do when pushed. The dark side acolyte rose from the shattered pavement like a nightmare given form, their crimson lightsaber igniting with a snap hiss that cut through the chaos of battle. The figure wore robes of deep black and blood red, their face concealed behind a mask fashioned from the skull of some predatory creature. But it was the aura surrounding them that truly unsettled. a presence so steeped in malevolence that it seemed to drain color and warmth from the air itself. "Jedi," the acolyte's voice was distorted through the mask, layered with dark side power. "And others, yes, I sense you, beings of great power yet blind to the Force. How curious, how delicious." Dark side lightning crackled between their fingers. "Lord Dooku sends his regards." Anakin stepped forward, lightsaber blazing blue. "Another one of Dooku's assassins. Ahsoka, stay back." "Obi-Wan, I'll flank left," Obi-Wan confirmed, already moving. The two Jedi had fought together so long they operated as one unit, their combat synchronization honed through countless battles. But before they could engage, Wonder Woman landed between them and the Dark Sider with an impact that cracked the street. "No." Her voice carried absolute authority. "I've felt darkness like this before. This is my fight." The acolyte laughed, a sound like grinding glass. "The woman thinks herself a warrior. Tell me, creature from beyond, have you ever faced a true master of the dark side? Have you felt your hope drain away as despair crushes your spirit? Have you watched the light die in?" Diana's fist, moving at superhuman speed, caught the acolyte in the chest before they finished their monologue. The impact sent the Darksider flying through 3 buildings, their body cratering through crystal and durasteel. The watching clones and Jedi stood in shocked silence. "I am Diana, daughter of Hippolyta, princess of the Amazons, and I have faced gods," Wonder Woman said coldly, advancing toward where the acolyte was already rising from the rubble. "Your darkness doesn't frighten me. I've stared into the abyss itself and emerged unbroken. You want to test me? Then come." The acolyte emerged wreathed in Force lightning, their anger manifest as crimson electricity that tore through the surrounding area. Impressive strength, but strength means nothing against the power of the dark side. They thrust both hands forward, unleashing a torrent of Force lightning directly at Diana. Wonder Woman crossed her bracers, the god-forged metal meeting Sith, lightning in an explosion of light and energy. The electricity cascaded around her, dissipating harmlessly against metal blessed by the gods of Olympus. "Your lightning cannot harm me," she declared. "Ares himself tried to break me with divine fury. You are but a pale shadow compared to the god of war." Superman watched the exchange with growing concern, ready to intervene, but recognizing that Diana needed this. Needed to prove that the League could face this galaxy's darkest powers and prevail. But his attention was divided. His super hearing picked up something in the distance, the whine of massive energy weapons charging. "Bruce, what am I hearing?" "The shield generator is powering up," Batman replied from his hidden position. "They are redirecting energy from the planetary defense grid. Whatever they're planning, it's big." Cyborg systems screamed warnings. "I'm detecting massive power spikes across the Separatist network. They're not just defending anymore, they're preparing for a major offensive. Seismic sensors show movement beneath the city, a lot of movement." The ground erupted in a dozen places simultaneously. What emerged made even the experienced Jedi pale. Super tank droids, Octuptara combat tri-droids, and worst of all, a full battalion of destroyer droids rolling into position. The Separatists had been holding back their main force, waiting for the Republic to commit fully. "It's an ambush," Obi-Wan realized, his tactical mind catching up to the situation. "They let us land, let us think we were winning, and now they spring the trap," Commander Cody finished grimly, already rallying his clone forces into defensive positions. "All units fall back to the LZ. We're getting massacred out here." Green Lantern's constructs flared brighter as he absorbed the incoming fire. We're not retreating, not with civilians still in those buildings. His ring pulsed, creating a massive dome shield over the Republic forces. Everyone get behind me. I can hold this, but we need a plan. The Flash was already moving, his connection to the Speed Force still imperfect, but sufficient. He vibrated through the destroyer droid's shields, systematically disabling each one's shield generator from the inside before they could fire. But there were too many, and even his enhanced speed couldn't be everywhere at once. Aquaman grabbed a super tank and, roaring with Atlantean fury, actually lifted the multi-ton war machine over his head. I really hate being this far from water. He hurled the tank into a cluster of advancing tri-droids, scattering them like bowling pins. But it was Superman who changed the battlefield. He shot into the sky, his eyes tracking every droid, every weapon emplacement, every tactical position. His mind, enhanced by Kryptonian genetics and yellow sun radiation, processed the battlefield with computer-like precision. Then his heat vision lanced out, not in wild blasts but with surgical accuracy. Each beam struck a critical joint, a power coupling, a structural weakness. Droids didn't explode dramatically. They simply stopped functioning as their key systems were precisely disabled. Within 30 seconds, the Superman had neutralized over 50 combat units without causing collateral damage to the surrounding buildings where civilians sheltered. Anakin watched in absolute awe. He's not just strong, he's in complete control. Every shot calculated, every movement precise. He turned to Obi-Wan. "Master, have you ever seen anything like this?" "No," Obi-Wan admitted, watching Superman methodically dismantle an army. Even Master Yoda at his peak couldn't project power on this scale, and he's holding back, I can tell. He could destroy this entire battlefield if he wanted to, but he's choosing precision over power. Wonder Woman, meanwhile, had closed with the dark side acolyte. Her sword met the lightsaber in a shower of sparks, the god-forged bronze somehow withstanding the plasma blade. The acolyte's eyes widened behind their mask. Impossible. No metal can resist a lightsaber's edge. The gods forged this blade in the fires of creation itself, Diana replied, her combat prowess overwhelming the Darksider's technique. Your weapon is impressive, but I have fought for 3,000 years. You are skilled. I am eternal. The acolyte tried to create distance, using force push to knock Diana back. She skidded backward several meters, her boots leaving furrows in the pavement, but she remained standing. Your force tricks won't save you. I've faced psychic attacks, reality warpers, and beings who could rewrite existence with a thought. Your telekinesis is powerful, but I've endured worse. Desperate, the acolyte reached out through the force, trying to crush Diana's internal organs or choke the life from her. But Wonder Woman's physiology wasn't human. Her divine heritage made her resistant to such attacks in ways the acolyte couldn't understand. Diana felt the pressure, acknowledged it, and pushed through it with sheer will. Her lasso snaked out, catching the acolyte around the waist. The lasso of truth blazed with golden light, and suddenly the Darksider was screaming, not in pain, but in psychological agony as truth itself forced its way into their corrupted mind. "What are you?" they shrieked. "What is this light? It burns! It burns away the shadows!" "Truth," Diana said simply, "the one thing darkness cannot withstand. Now tell me, who sent you? What is your mission?" Bound by the lasso, the acolyte had no choice but to answer. "Count Dooku sent me to test you, to evaluate your power." for Lord Sidious. "Who is Lord Sidious?" Diana demanded. I don't know. Only Dooku knows. The Sith Lord who controls everything." The acolyte's voice was breaking, their mind fracturing under the combined assault of the lasso's truth and the realization of how thoroughly they'd been manipulated. Batman's voice crackled over the comm. "Diana, let them go. I got what I needed from that confession. There's a hidden Sith Lord, Sidious, pulling strings behind the separatist movement. But there's more. I'm detecting encrypted transmissions from the separatist command center to the Republic Senate building on Coruscant." Everyone on the comm channel froze. Obi-Wan's voice was carefully controlled. "Batman, are you certain? If the separatists have infiltrated the Senate at that level..." "I'm certain," Batman interrupted. "And it gets worse. The encryption protocols are identical on both sides. Whoever's running the separatists is also connected to someone high up in the Republic government. This whole war, it's being orchestrated by someone playing both sides." Anakin's anger flared. "That's impossible. The Chancellor would never..." "I didn't say it was the Chancellor," Batman cut him off. "But someone in a position of significant power is coordinating with the separatists while simultaneously directing Republic strategy. This war is a fraud. Cyborg systems confirmed the data. Bruce is right. I'm seeing communication patterns that shouldn't exist. The separatists and Republic High Command are sharing intelligence through encrypted back channels. This entire conflict is theater." The revelation hung in the air as the battle continued around them. Clone troopers fought bravely against droid forces, neither side knowing they were pieces in someone else's game. The Justice League had stumbled onto a conspiracy that went to the very heart of galactic government. Superman's voice was firm. "We finish this battle first. We protect these people, then we investigate." His heat vision destroyed another wave of droids. "But mark my words, whoever's behind this manipulation, whatever their plan is, the Justice League will stop them." The dark side acolyte, still bound by the lasso and broken by truth, collapsed unconscious. Wonder Woman released them and turned to face the remaining droid forces. "You heard Superman. We end this now." And the Justice League, working in perfect concert with the Jedi and clone forces, unleashed the full measure of their power. The Flash became a whirlwind of destruction, moving so fast that droids simply fell apart as he passed. Green Lantern created constructs of such size and complexity that they seemed to fill half the sky. Aquaman's strength let him tear through armor that should have been impenetrable. Cyborg's virus propagated through the droid network, turning their own systems against them. But it was the combination of Superman and Wonder Woman that broke the separatist assault. Moving as one, they carved through the enemy forces with such overwhelming power that even the Jedi watching felt a mixture of relief and unease. These beings could end wars single-handedly. They could topple governments. They could reshape the galaxy. The question was, would they? Within 15 minutes, the battle was over. The separatist forces were in full retreat. Their dark side acolyte captured, their droid army decimated. Christophsis was liberated. But as the smoke cleared and the League stood among the grateful civilians and shocked clone troopers, everyone present understood that something fundamental had shifted. The Justice League hadn't just won a battle. They'd announced their presence to the galaxy and uncovered a conspiracy that threatened everything. And somewhere in the shadows of Coruscant, the being known as Darth Sidious was watching and revising his plans to account for 7 variables he'd never anticipated. The aftermath of Christophsis revealed both the League's power and the Clone Wars' true horror. As Republic medical frigates descended to evacuate wounded clones and displaced civilians, Superman used his X-ray vision to search the rubble for survivors. What he found in the Separatist prison camps made his jaw clench with barely suppressed rage. Thousands of civilians, men, women, children, crammed into detention facilities with minimal food, no medical care, and conditions that would violate every humanitarian standard Earth had ever conceived. The Separatist droids had been efficient jailers, categorizing prisoners by potential labor value and systematically working them until they collapsed. This is what the Separatists call liberation from Republic corruption. Superman's voice was cold as he carried out the 50th emaciated child that hour. Wonder Woman worked beside him, her ancient eyes having seen such suffering before but never becoming numb to it. "War always devours the innocent first," she said quietly, cradling a wounded Twi'lek woman with a gentleness that belied her warrior strength. The powerful make decisions, the powerless pay the price. Anakin coordinated relief efforts with the clone medics, but he couldn't stop watching the League work. They'd been on Christophsis for barely 6 hours and had already saved more lives than most Jedi did in months of campaigning. Their power wasn't just in combat, it was in the ability to do what armies couldn't. Superman could search entire city blocks in seconds. Wonder Woman's strength let her lift collapsed buildings. The Flash could deliver medical supplies faster than any transport. "They're not soldiers," Ahsoka observed, standing beside her master. "Soldiers follow orders, complete objectives. The League, they're here for the people, only the people." "And that makes them dangerous," Obi-Wan said, approaching the pair. "Not to us, perhaps, but to the power structures that depend on people accepting that some suffering is inevitable. The League doesn't accept that. They'll try to save everyone." Batman emerged from the shadows, literally having spent the past hour investigating the Separatist command center before Republic forces could sanitize it. His cowl was pulled back, revealing Bruce Wayne's grim expression as he carried a datapad filled with evidence. "We need to talk," he told the assembled Jedi and League members. "Privately, what I found changes everything." They gathered in a secured transport, away from clone ears and potential surveillance. Batman activated the datapad, projecting holographic records that made Obi-Wan's face drain of color. The Separatist command on Christophsis had direct communication logs. "With someone in the Republic Senate," Batman began without preamble. "Not secret communiques, not intelligence gathering, direct coordination." The Separatists were ordered to make their defense look convincing but ultimately fail. This entire battle was staged. "Staged?" Anakin's anger flared immediately. "Clones died here, civilians suffered. You're saying someone wanted this battle to happen even though they could have prevented it?" "Not just wanted, needed," Batman corrected. "Look at the pattern. The Separatists dig in, make it look like a serious occupation. The Republic commits forces, fights a hard battle, and achieves a heroic victory. Public opinion swings toward supporting the war effort. More emergency powers get granted to the Senate. The military-industrial complex profits, and the war continues." Cyborg projected additional data from his own investigation. "It's worse than that. I've analyzed 3 years of Clone Wars battle reports from the Republic database. The pattern repeats across dozens of worlds. Battles that should have ended quickly drag on. Strategic opportunities get mysteriously missed." It's like someone's deliberately prolonging the conflict. To what end? Obi-Wan demanded, though his voice suggested he feared the answer. Control, Wonder Woman said, her voice heavy with historical knowledge. I've seen it before on Earth. Rome's endless wars consolidated power in the military. The Crusades enriched kingdoms while devastating populations. War is the oldest excuse for tyranny, dressed in the language of necessity. Green Lantern's ring pulsed as he processed the implications. But the Jedi are fighting this war. You're on the front lines. Are you saying you're being manipulated too? The question hung in the air like an accusation. Mace Windu's holographic form appeared. He'd been patched into the meeting from Coruscant. These are serious allegations, Batman. You're claiming a conspiracy at the highest levels of Republic government. Do you have proof beyond circumstantial patterns? Batman met the Jedi Master's gaze without flinching. I have communication logs, financial records showing credits flowing from Republic sources to separatist accounts through shell corporations, and battle plans that were somehow known to both sides before engagement. Either your intelligence security is catastrophically compromised, or someone is deliberately feeding information to ensure battles happen in specific ways. The dark side clouds everything, Mace admitted grudgingly. We've known for years that something obscures our vision of the future, but to suggest the war itself is orchestrated is exactly what my lasso revealed, Wonder Woman interrupted. The dark side acolyte we captured spoke of Lord Sidious, a Sith Lord who controls everything. They weren't exaggerating for dramatic effect. The lasso of truth forced complete honesty. Someone named Sidious is manipulating events on a galactic scale. Anakin paced like a caged predator. Then we find this Sidious and end this. The Sith have been hiding for 1,000 years. If one's finally shown themselves... It's not that simple, Batman interrupted. Whoever Sidious is, they've infiltrated the Republic at a level where they can influence major military decisions. They could be a senator, a military officer, maybe even someone in the Jedi Order itself. The suggestion that a Jedi might be the Sith Lord made several people reach for weapons. Obi-Wan raised his hands peacefully. Let's not turn on each other. That's exactly what a Sith would want. Superman, who'd been silent throughout the exchange, finally spoke. There's another possibility. What if Sidious isn't hiding among you? What if Sidious is someone so obviously trustworthy, so publicly positioned that no one would ever suspect them? In my experience, the best place to hide is in plain sight. Like who? Ahsoka asked. Like Chancellor Palpatine, Batman said flatly. The transport erupted in protest. Anakin's anger boiled over. The Chancellor is the Republic. He's guided us through this entire war. He's the one person we can absolutely trust. Is he? Batman's voice cut through the outrage. Think about it. Who benefits most from the war continuing? Who's been granted emergency powers that override the Senate? Who's in a position to coordinate both Republic strategy and have access to separatist intelligence? The Chancellor has motive, means, and opportunity. Obi-Wan's diplomatic training kicked in, but his voice was strained. Chancellor Palpatine has been a friend to the Jedi Order for decades. He's supported us, trusted us, worked with us. You're asking us to believe he's secretly a Sith Lord who's been manipulating the entire galaxy. I'm asking you to investigate, Batman corrected. Don't take my word for it. Use your resources, your force abilities, your intelligence networks, but investigate objectively without assuming his innocence. Mace Windu's hologram flickered with barely suppressed frustration. We cannot simply accuse the Supreme Chancellor of treason without irrefutable evidence. The political fallout alone would tear the Republic apart. Then get evidence, Superman said, his voice carrying the moral authority that had made him Earth's greatest hero. But while you're investigating, people are dying in a war that might be completely manufactured. We can't ignore that. The Flash, who'd been unusually quiet, finally spoke up. Here's what I don't get. If this Sidious guy is running both sides, why? What's the end game? You don't orchestrate a galaxy-wide war just for kicks. Power, Wonder Woman answered. Create a crisis, position yourself as the solution, consolidate authority to protect people, and by the time they realize what's happened, it's too late to resist. It's the oldest political playbook in existence. Cyborg systems chirped with an incoming transmission. We've got a problem. Count Dooku himself just broadcasted a message to the Republic. He's specifically calling out the Justice League, says we're extra-dimensional interference in galactic affairs, and demands we be turned over to the Separatists for trial. Trial, Aquaman snorted. That's rich coming from the guy running a droid army that just imprisoned thousands of civilians. Green Lantern pulled up the broadcast. Count Dooku's aristocratic face filled the holographic display, his expression grave and reasonable, the perfect mask of concerned leadership. To the Galactic Republic and the Jedi Order, Dooku began, his voice carrying practiced authority. The appearance of these so-called heroes from another dimension represents an unprecedented threat to galactic sovereignty. They operate without oversight, answer to no government, and wield power that surpasses even the Jedi. How long before they decide our conflicts don't meet their standards? How long before they impose their will on our galaxy? I call upon the Republic to restrain these beings before they become the very tyranny they claim to oppose. The broadcast ended. Batman allowed himself a thin smile. Interesting. He's not attacking our power. He's attacking our legitimacy, making us the threat instead of him. It's a smart play, Wonder Woman acknowledged, and it will work on many people. We're outsiders, unknown, powerful. That's a combination that breeds fear as easily as hope. Anakin's comm unit buzzed. Skywalker here. Anakin, it's Senator Amidala. Padme's voice carried urgency. The Senate is in emergency session. Dooku's broadcast has several senators calling for the Justice League to be detained pending investigation. The Chancellor is trying to calm things down, but the political pressure is mounting, Obi-Wan finished grimly. Of course it is. We can't trust Palpatine, but we can't ignore the Senate either. Superman stood to his full height, his presence filling the transport. Then we give them what they want. Not detention, but transparency. We address the Senate directly. We explain who we are, why we're here, and what we stand for. Let them judge us by our actions and our words. Clark, that's exactly what they want, Batman warned. You'll be walking into a political arena designed to manipulate and control. These senators are professional politicians who've been playing power games for decades. Let them try, Superman replied with quiet confidence. I've faced Lex Luthor, the greatest political manipulator Earth ever produced. I have testified before the United Nations, the World Court, and hostile governments. I can handle a Senate hearing. Wonder Woman stepped beside him, and he won't face it alone. The Justice League stands together. The Flash grinned. Yeah, what's the worst that can happen? We embarrass ourselves in front of trillions of beings across the galaxy. I've had worse Tuesday afternoons. Mace Windu's hologram regarded them with something approaching respect. "Very well. I'll inform the Chancellor that you've agreed to address the Senate voluntarily. But understand, this is a battle you can't win with strength or speed. This is politics, and in the Senate, truth is whatever the majority can be convinced to believe." "Then we'll just have to be very convincing," Green Lantern said, his ring glowing with determination. As the meeting broke up and preparations began for the return to Coruscant, Batman pulled Superman aside. "Clark, you realize what we're walking into? If Palpatine really is Sidious, we're about to stand in front of the Sith Lord pulling all the strings and accuse him of conspiracy. He'll be ready for us." "I know," Superman replied quietly. "But Bruce, we can't just fight this war without understanding it. We need to expose the truth, and the Senate is where we start. Even if Palpatine is Sidious, he can't act openly against us without revealing himself. We force him to play by the rules, at least for now. And when he stops playing by the rules," Superman's eyes glowed faintly with restrained power, "then we remind him why Earth's heroes are called the Justice League. We don't just fight villains, Bruce. We expose them, we defeat them, and we make sure everyone sees what they really are." In his office on Coruscant, Darth Sidious watched the League's encrypted communications through technology even Cyborg hadn't detected. The Sith Lord's smile was cold calculation itself. These heroes thought they could expose him? They were about to learn that the greatest darkness always hides in the brightest light, and the Senate chamber was where he'd perform his masterwork. The Justice League was coming to Coruscant, and Darth Sidious was ready. The Galactic Senate chamber was a monument to democracy on a scale Earth had never conceived. A massive spherical arena where thousands of floating platforms held representatives from across the galaxy. Each platform could hold delegations from entire star systems, and today every single one was occupied. Trillions watched via HoloNet broadcast as the Justice League walked into the heart of Republic politics. Superman led the way, his cape flowing behind him, as he strode onto the main platform with Wonder Woman at his side. Behind them came Batman, his presence somehow commanding despite lacking any superhuman abilities. The Flash, Green Lantern, Cyborg, and Aquaman completed the formation, 7 beings whose very existence challenged everything the galaxy thought it knew about power. Chancellor Palpatine presided from his podium, his grandfatherly face projecting benevolent concern. To most observers, he appeared every inch the dedicated public servant navigating an unprecedented crisis. But Superman's enhanced hearing caught the man's heartbeat, steady, controlled, utterly calm despite the chaos. Too calm. Batman's warning about Palpatine being Sidious echoed in his mind. "Distinguished senators," Palpatine began, his voice carrying the practiced warmth of a career politician. "We face an unusual situation. 7 beings of remarkable power have appeared in our galaxy, claiming to be from another dimension entirely. They have demonstrated capabilities that rival the Jedi themselves, yet they operate without oversight, without accountability to any galactic authority. Count Dooku has raised legitimate concerns about—" "May I speak, Chancellor?" Superman interrupted, his voice respectful but firm. The interruption caused a ripple of shock through the chamber. One did not simply interrupt the Supreme Chancellor. Palpatine's smile never wavered, but his eyes flickered with something Superman couldn't quite read. "Of course, the Senate welcomes transparency, Please enlighten us as to your intentions." Superman stepped forward to the chamber's center, where holographic projectors would broadcast his image to every platform. "My name is Kal-El. On my world, I'm known as Superman. My companions and I form the Justice League, a group dedicated to protecting the innocent, upholding justice, and standing against tyranny in all its forms." "Pretty words," a senator from the Techno-Union delegation called out. "But you speak of justice while wielding power that could destroy cities. Who judges your actions? Who holds you accountable?" "We hold each other accountable," Wonder Woman replied, her voice carrying the authority of royalty, "and we are judged by the people we protect. Every action we take is public, every decision open to scrutiny. We have made mistakes, we acknowledge them, learn from them, and strive to do better." Batman's gravelly voice cut through the chamber. "But let's address the real question you're asking. What's to stop us from imposing our will on your galaxy? The answer is simple. We have no interest in ruling. We've seen what happens when the powerful try to control the weak. It never ends well." A separatist sympathizer from the Commerce Guild stood. "Yet you've already chosen sides. You fought alongside the Republic on Christophsis. You've killed separatist droids, destroyed our property, interfered in a sovereign conflict." "We saved lives," Cyborg interjected, his synthesized voice carrying across the chamber as holographic displays showed footage from Christophsis. "We found prison camps where civilians, your civilians, were being worked to death. We liberated them. If you consider that interference, I'll wear that accusation proudly." The Commerce Guild representative sputtered. "Those were enemy combatants, separatist supporters who refused to cooperate with children?" Superman's voice cut like steel. The hologram shifted to show the emaciated kids he'd pulled from the camps. "Infants barely old enough to walk are enemy combatants. Elderly civilians who couldn't flee fast enough are separatist supporters." The chamber fell silent. Even the most ardent separatist defenders couldn't justify what the images showed. Senator Bail Organa of Alderaan rose, his voice measured and diplomatic. "I think what many of us want to understand is your ultimate goal. You say you're stranded here. What do you intend to do while you search for a way home? Will you continue to intervene in our conflicts? And if so, by what authority?" "By the authority of conscience," Green Lantern answered, his ring glowing softly. "Look, I'm a Green Lantern. In my universe, I'm part of an intergalactic police force that protects thousands of worlds. I've seen what happens when good people stand by and do nothing in the face of evil. I've seen civilizations fall because everyone waited for someone else to act. The League doesn't need your permission to help people, but we're here to work with you, not against you." Senator Padme Amidala stood, her voice carrying genuine curiosity rather than accusation. "You speak of evil and tyranny, but war is rarely that simple. The Separatists claim the Republic is corrupt, inefficient, and no longer represents the people. The Republic claims the Separatists are terrorists and corporate opportunists. From your outside perspective, how do you judge who's right?" It was the perfect question, and Superman suspected it was intentional. Padme Amidala's intelligence file, which Batman had acquired, showed her to be one of the Senate's most principled members. She genuinely wanted to know. "We don't," Superman admitted. "We're still learning about your galaxy, your history, your conflicts, but we've noticed something troubling." He glanced at Batman, who nodded imperceptibly. They'd agreed to reveal some of what they'd discovered, but not everything. Not yet. Both sides in this war seem to miss strategic opportunities, Superman continued carefully. Battles that should end quickly drag on. Peace negotiations fail at the last moment. It's almost as if someone benefits from the war continuing, regardless of which side wins individual battles. The chamber erupted in crosstalk. Palpatine raised his hands for calm, his expression thoughtful. An interesting observation, Superman. But surely you're not suggesting the war itself is somehow orchestrated. The separatist threat is very real. The droid armies, the planets they've conquered, are also real, Batman agreed. But wars need funding, coordination, and political will to continue. Follow the money, follow the power. Someone is profiting immensely from this conflict. And it's not the clones dying on the front lines or the civilians caught in the crossfire. A Kaminoan senator shifted uncomfortably. Their planet manufactured the clone army and had grown wealthy from the contracts. A moon from the banking clan looked equally uneasy. They financed both sides of the war through complex financial instruments. Senator Orn Free Ta of Ryloth, his multiple chins quivering with indignation, stood. These are baseless conspiracy theories. The banking clan's loans are a matter of public record approved by this very Senate. Which brings us to accountability, Wonder Woman said, her lasso hanging visibly at her hip. Several senators eyed it nervously. Rumors of what it had done to the Darkseid acolyte had spread quickly. You question our authority to act. We question yours. How many of you have ever seen a battlefield? How many have watched children starve while you debate emergency spending bills? How many have held dying soldiers who were conscripted to fight in a war they don't understand? The accusation hung in the air. Most senators had never left Coruscant, never witnessed the war firsthand. They voted on troop deployments and military budgets from the comfort of their climate-controlled platforms, while clone troopers died on distant worlds. Mas Amedda, the Chancellor's aide, stepped forward. The Senate cannot be expected to personally experience every aspect of governance. That's why we have the Jedi, the military command, and that's precisely the problem, the Flash interrupted, his voice carrying youthful intensity. You've created this huge machine of war, and nobody's actually steering it. You vote for more troops, more weapons, more emergency powers for the Chancellor. No offense, sir, but does anyone ask why the war keeps getting worse instead of better? Palpatine's expression remained benevolent, but Superman noticed his knuckles had tightened almost imperceptibly on his podium. The Separatists are a formidable enemy. Victory takes time. Does it? Batman asked quietly. Or does victory require something you're not willing to give? He pulled up tactical displays. I've analyzed 3 years of battle reports. The Republic wins individual engagements but never presses advantages. The Separatists lose battles, but their production capacity somehow increases. It's almost textbook. Maintain enough conflict to justify emergency measures, but never win decisively enough to end the war. These are serious allegations, Mace Windu said, his holographic form appearing on a Jedi platform. You're suggesting incompetence at best, conspiracy at worst. I'm suggesting you look at the evidence without assuming good faith, Batman replied. On my world, we have a saying. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. Sometimes evil doesn't announce itself with red lightsabers and dark robes. Sometimes it wears a friendly face and speaks of peace while orchestrating war. The chamber fell into chaos. Senators shouted accusations and defenses. Separatist sympathizers claimed vindication. Republic loyalists demanded the League be arrested for sedition. Through it all, Palpatine remained calm, the eye of the storm, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Finally, he raised his hands, and the chamber quieted. These are troubling suggestions, but I believe they come from a place of genuine concern rather than malice. Perhaps, he said, his voice heavy with regret, the Justice League is correct. Perhaps we have become too comfortable with war, too accepting of its continuation. Therefore, I propose a full investigation into military spending, strategic decisions, and— No, Superman interrupted, and the single word carried such finality that even Palpatine paused. An investigation controlled by the very institutions we're questioning won't find anything you don't want it to find. We have a different proposal. Wonder Woman stepped forward. The Justice League offers its services as neutral arbitrators. We'll investigate both the Republic and Separatist leadership with complete transparency. Everything we find gets released publicly through the holonet. No secret reports, no classified findings, just truth. Impossible, several senators shouted simultaneously. State secrets, military security, separatist infiltration. But Bail Organa was nodding slowly. Actually, it's brilliant. They have no political stake in our conflicts. They can't be bribed or threatened because they don't need our resources or fear our power. If anyone could conduct an impartial investigation, it would be beings with nothing to gain or lose from the outcome. Padme finished, her eyes bright with hope. Chancellor, this could be our chance to finally understand what's really happening, to expose any corruption on either side and find a genuine path to peace. Palpatine's smile never wavered, but Superman's enhanced vision caught the minute tension in his jaw. The Sith Lord, if that's truly what he was, had just been checkmated. Refusing the investigation would look suspicious. Accepting it gave the League authority to dig into everything. A noble suggestion, Palpatine said slowly, but surely such an investigation would require months, even years. And in the meantime, the war continues. Soldiers die. Worlds burn. Can we truly afford such a delay? Can we afford not to know the truth? Aquaman challenged. You're right that the war won't pause, but neither will our investigation. We work fast. Give us 2 weeks, full access to Republic and Separatist records, and we'll give you answers. The vote was called. The Senate was divided, but ultimately, enough senators saw the proposal as either genuinely useful or politically advantageous. The resolution passed. The Justice League would be granted temporary investigative authority to examine both sides of the Clone Wars. As the session adjourned, Batman pulled Superman aside. You realize what we just did? We've put a target on our backs the size of a Death Star. If Palpatine really is Sidious, he'll move against us. Let him try, Superman replied. We're not clone troopers he can order around or Jedi who trust too easily. We're the Justice League, and we're about to tear apart his conspiracy from the inside. In his private office, Darth Sidious dismissed his aides and allowed himself a moment of genuine annoyance. The Justice League had just forced him to accelerate his plans. But that was acceptable. The dark side had given him visions of these outsiders, and he'd already prepared contingencies. If the League wanted to investigate the war, he would give them all the evidence they could handle, carefully curated, masterfully manipulated, leading them exactly where he wanted them to go. And when they'd served their purpose, when they'd helped him eliminate the Jedi and consolidate absolute power. Then he would deal with Earth's heroes permanently. After all, even beings of incredible power had weaknesses, and Darth Sidious was very, very good at finding weaknesses. The investigation began at dawn on Coruscant, but the Justice League quickly discovered that unraveling a galaxy-spanning conspiracy was far more complex than stopping alien invasions or defeating supervillains. Their enemy wasn't a single threat they could punch. It was a web of corruption, manipulation, and carefully constructed lies woven through every level of government and military. Batman established their base of operations in a secured section of the Jedi Temple, much to the Council's mixed feelings. The Dark Knight had spent 72 hours without sleep, his detective's mind processing terabytes of data with assistance from Cyborg's technological interface. The walls were covered with holographic displays showing financial transactions, communication logs, battle reports, and political records stretching back decades. "It's beautiful in a horrifying way," Batman said, gesturing to the web of connections he'd mapped. "Look at this. Every major military contract for the Republic goes through companies with hidden ownership structures. Follow those structures far enough, and they connect to separatist financing. The same entities profit from both sides." Cyborg highlighted several nodes in the network. "And the communication patterns are even worse. I've found encrypted messages passing between Republic Strategic Command and Separatist intelligence at least twice a week. They're not intelligence leaks. They're coordinated information sharing. Someone's making sure both sides know just enough to keep the war balanced." Wonder Woman studied the data with a warrior's eye for strategy. "This isn't just profiteering. This is deliberate orchestration. Someone is conducting this war like a symphony, controlling both the Republic and Separatist movements." "The question is who," Green Lantern said, his ring projecting additional analysis. "We keep seeing these encrypted signatures, but we can't trace them to a source. Whoever's running this operation has covered their tracks expertly." Superman walked to a particular section of the display, financial records from the Kaminoan cloning facilities. "The clone army bothers me most. These aren't volunteers or even conscripts. They're property, created, trained, and deployed to die for a republic that doesn't even grant them citizenship. And nobody questioned this. Nobody asked who authorized creating millions of living beings as expendable soldiers." "The Jedi Council did," Mace Windu said, entering the room with Yoda and Obi-Wan. "We questioned it extensively when the clone army first appeared, but we were in crisis. The Separatist threat was real, immediate, and we had no other military force capable of responding. We told ourselves it was temporary, that we'd address the ethical issues after the war." "After the war that someone is ensuring never ends," Batman observed coldly. "Convenient." Yoda's ears drooped with sadness. "Clouded by the dark side our judgment was. See the trap, we did not, until already caught we were. Help us now, you must. Find the truth, before too late it becomes." The Flash zipped into the room, carrying stacks of data cards. "Okay, so I've been running around the Senate archives at super speed pulling records. You're gonna love this or hate it, depending on your perspective." The emergency powers bill that gave Palpatine extended authority. The senator who proposed it was being blackmailed by someone with detailed knowledge of his financial crimes. He was forced to introduce the legislation. "Let me guess," Aquaman said grimly. "The blackmailer's identity is conveniently hidden?" Encrypted beyond anything I can crack without more time, Cyborg confirmed. But the pattern is clear. Every major vote that expanded the war or centralized power in the Chancellor's office was pushed by senators who were being manipulated, bribed, or coerced. Batman pulled up a new display. I've been analyzing Palpatine's political career. It's almost too perfect. Every time there's a crisis that could end his term, something happens to extend it. Every political opponent who could challenge him either gets caught in a scandal, assassinated by separatist agents, or has a convenient accident. The statistical probability of one person being this consistently lucky is essentially zero. You're building a case that Palpatine is behind everything, Obi-Wan said slowly. But the man has been a dedicated public servant for decades. I have known him personally. He's shown nothing but concern for the Republic and support for the Jedi Order. Has he? Wonder Woman's voice carried the weight of someone who'd lived through millennia of political manipulation. Or has he shown you exactly what you needed to see? The best manipulators don't appear as enemies. They position themselves as indispensable friends. Before Obi-Wan could respond, alarms blared throughout the temple. Clone Commander Cody's voice came through on the emergency channel. This is CT-2224 to Jedi Command. We're under attack at the Outer Rim Supply Depot on Ringo Vinda. Unknown assailants using advanced force abilities, requesting immediate Jedi support. It's a distraction, Batman said immediately. Someone knows we're close to something and wants to pull Jedi resources away from Coruscant. Doesn't matter, Superman replied, already moving toward the door. If people are under attack, we respond. League, you're with me. Batman, you stay here and keep investigating. You're the only one who can untangle this conspiracy. Clark, I know it's a trap, Superman interrupted, but we don't abandon people just because helping them is inconvenient. That's not who we are. 10 minutes later, Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern, and Aquaman were aboard a Republic cruiser jumping to hyperspace. Batman, Cyborg, Anakin, and Ahsoka remained on Coruscant, continuing the investigation while monitoring the situation remotely. The supply depot on Ringo Vinda was a critical Republic facility orbiting a frozen world. When the rescue team arrived, they found the station under siege by a force unlike any they'd encountered. Dark side users wielding crimson lightsabers, but moving with coordinated precision that suggested military training rather than Sith philosophy. Inquisitors, Obi-Wan identified them over the comm from Coruscant. Palpatine's personal dark side agents. They hunt rogue force sensitives and enemies of the state, but I've never seen them deployed in squad-level combat like this. They're not here for the facility, Wonder Woman observed, deflecting lightsaber strikes with her bracers. They're here for us, testing our capabilities. Superman's heat vision carved through the station's exterior, creating an entrance for the clone defenders to escape, while the League engaged the Inquisitors. But these dark side users were better trained than the acolyte from Christophsis. They fought as a unit, using the Force to coordinate attacks and cover each other's weaknesses. One Inquisitor unleashed Force lightning at the Flash, but Barry vibrated through it, his molecules phasing out of sync with the electrical discharge. Neat trick, he quipped, but I've been hit by Black Adam's lightning. Yours is diet darkside at best. Green Lantern created constructs to contain the Inquisitors, but they used the Force to shatter his constructs from within, something he'd never encountered. They're attacking the willpower, sustaining the construct directly. It's like psychic warfare combined with physical assault. Aquaman found himself facing an Inquisitor whose fighting style incorporated water-bending techniques, using the moisture in the station's atmosphere as a weapon. You've got to be kidding me. Even in space, I'm fighting water manipulators. Despite his annoyance, his Atlantean strength let him overpower the Inquisitor's telekinesis through sheer physical force. But it was Wonder Woman who faced the most dangerous opponent, a female Inquisitor whose combat skills rivaled her own, wielding a double-bladed lightsaber with deadly grace. "You fight well, outsider," the Inquisitor said, her voice distorted by her mask. "But you don't understand the dark side. It offers power you cannot imagine." "I've been offered power by gods and demons," Diana replied, her sword meeting the lightsaber in showers of sparks. "I've rejected them all. Power means nothing without purpose, and your purpose is servitude to someone else's ambition." The Inquisitor laughed. "Says the woman who serves the Justice League. We all serve someone." "No," Wonder Woman corrected, her lasso snaking out to catch the Inquisitor's wrist. "The League is partnership among equals. You've traded freedom for power. I've never been anyone's slave, and I never will be." The lasso of truth blazed, and the Inquisitor screamed, not in pain but in revelation as truth forced its way past dark side conditioning. "He's using us. Sidious promised power, but we're just tools, expendable." Before Diana could press for more information, the Inquisitor used the Force to sever her own hand, freeing herself from the lasso. She fled with the other surviving Inquisitors, leaving behind 3 captured dark side users and a station full of shocked clone troopers. Superman regrouped the team as Republic reinforcements arrived. "Everyone okay?" "Define okay," Aquaman muttered, nursing bruises from Force-thrown debris. "I just got my butt kicked by evil space wizards. That's a new low." "We got intel, though," Wonder Woman said, restraining the captured Inquisitors with her lasso. "They confirmed Sidious exists and is using dark side agents as expendable assets, and I think I know how to identify him." Back on Coruscant, Batman had made his own breakthrough. Cyborg had finally cracked one of the encrypted communication nodes, and what they found made both of them pale. "Bruce, you need to see this," Cyborg said, his voice tight with shock. "The encryption key for the Separatist Republic coordination, it's biometric, specifically tied to one person's unique biological signature." Batman pulled up the analysis. The signature was unmistakable. Human, male, approximately 60 years old, with Force sensitivity markers and a genetic profile that matched only one person in the entire Republic database. "Chancellor Palpatine," Batman whispered. "He's been coordinating both sides of the war personally." Anakin, watching over their shoulders, shook his head in denial. "That's impossible. The Chancellor has been like a father to me. He's guided the Republic through the war. He wouldn't orchestrate a galactic conflict to seize absolute power." Batman turned to face the young Jedi. "Anakin, I've spent my entire life studying how evil people think. Palpatine isn't some cackling villain. He's patient, methodical, and absolutely brilliant. He's been playing both sides for years, maybe decades, and now we have proof." "Proof we can't use," Cyborg interjected. "The encryption was illegal to crack. Any evidence we derive from it would be inadmissible in Republic courts. We know he's guilty, but we can't prove it legally." Ahsoka, who'd been monitoring the investigation with growing horror, spoke up. Then we don't go through the courts. We expose him publicly, use the holonet, show everyone what he really is. He'll deny it, Batman said. And without legal proof, it becomes our word against the Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic. Half the Senate will call it a conspiracy theory. The other half will accuse us of attempting a coup. Anakin's comm unit buzzed. Skywalker, this is the Chancellor. I understand you're assisting the Justice League's investigation. I'd like to speak with you privately about what you've discovered. Can you come to my office? Batman and Anakin locked eyes. The invitation was a trap. Sidious knew they were close and was making his move. But it was also an opportunity. Tell him I'm coming, Anakin said slowly, but I'm bringing backup. He'll sense Jedi or clones, Batman warned. He won't sense me, a new voice said. Superman stood in the doorway, having returned from Ringo Vinda. I'm not force-sensitive. I don't show up in his precognition or telepathy. And if Palpatine really is this Sith Lord, it's time we had a conversation. Clark, if you confront him directly, then we force him to show his hand, Superman finished. Bruce, you taught me that sometimes the best way to catch a criminal is to make them think they've already won. Let Palpatine believe he's luring us into a trap. What he doesn't know is that we're walking in with our eyes open. Wonder Woman joined them, fresh from restraining the Inquisitors. And he definitely doesn't know what the Justice League can do when we're actually trying to expose someone rather than just stop them. We've toppled corrupt governments before, Cal. We can do it again. Mace Windu appeared via hologram. This is dangerous if you're wrong about Palpatine. We're not, Batman said with absolute certainty. Every piece of evidence points to him. The communication signatures, the financial trails, the political manipulation. Palpatine is Darth Sidious. And tonight, we prove it. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of the galaxy. The Justice League had uncovered the conspiracy. Now they had to survive exposing it. Chancellor Palpatine's office overlooked the Coruscant skyline, a monument to political power dressed in the aesthetics of humble service. The decor was deliberately modest. No ostentatious displays of wealth, just the workspace of a dedicated public servant who'd sacrificed personal comfort for galactic duty. It was, Batman recognized immediately, a masterfully constructed lie. Superman entered first, his cape settling behind him as he took in every detail with enhanced senses. Anakin followed, lightsaber hanging at his belt, his emotions a visible storm of confusion and denial. Batman materialized from the shadows near the doorway. He'd been there for 10 minutes already, observing, recording everything. Palpatine rose with grandfatherly warmth, his smile reaching his eyes in the perfect performance of genuine pleasure. Anakin, my boy. And Superman, what an honor. Please sit. I understand your investigation has been progressing remarkably well. Too well, Batman said from the shadows, making Palpatine's smile flicker for just a microsecond. We've uncovered coordination between Republic and Separatist forces, financial trails leading to the same source, communication protocols that shouldn't exist. Someone has been orchestrating this war from both sides, Chancellor, and all the evidence points to one conclusion. Oh? Palpatine's expression showed concern rather than fear. These are troubling findings. Do you have suspects? Because if there's corruption at this level, we must root it out immediately. The suspect, Superman said quietly, his voice carrying absolute moral certainty, is you, Chancellor. You are Darth Sidious. You created the Separatist crisis. commissioned the clone army and have been manipulating the Republic and Confederacy to wage war while consolidating power in your office. Anakin's hand moved to his lightsaber. Master Superman, what are you doing? You can't just accuse the Chancellor of treason. Palpatine's voice was sad, wounded. I understand, Anakin. The Justice League is searching for simple answers to complex problems. They see conspiracies because they cannot accept that war is sometimes just war. Chaotic, brutal, senseless war. Except this war isn't senseless. Batman stepped forward, pulling up holographic evidence from a wrist-mounted projector. It's been carefully managed. Every major battle plan to achieve strategic stalemate. Every peace initiative sabotaged at the last moment. And the biometric encryption on the communication network coordinating both sides? It matches your genetic signature, Chancellor, your unique force sensitivity markers. There's only one person in the galaxy it could be. Palpatine's expression shifted, not to guilt, but to disappointment. Biometric encryption you obtained through illegal hacking of Republic security systems. Evidence that would be inadmissible in any court, obtained by beings who answer to no galactic authority. He turned to Anakin. You see what I warned the Senate about? They operate outside our laws, make accusations without proof, and expect us to simply accept their judgment. The proof is right there. Superman's voice carried frustration. The financial records, the communications, the pattern of political manipulation. Circumstantial, Palpatine interrupted smoothly. Yes, I've made difficult decisions during this war. Yes, I've taken emergency powers the Senate voted to grant me. Yes, I've had to communicate with separatist leadership through back channels to attempt negotiations. All of this is documented, legal, and done in service to the Republic. Batman's eyes narrowed behind his cowl. The Sith Lord was too calm, too prepared. He'd war-gamed this exact scenario and had responses ready for every accusation. You're not even going to deny being Sidious? I don't need to deny absurdities, Palpatine replied, his voice hardening slightly. You have no evidence that would stand scrutiny. You have theories, suspicions, and illegally obtained data, but you don't have proof, and even if you did, do you truly believe the Senate would trust the word of dimensional outsiders over their elected chancellor? He was right, and they all knew it. Superman's jaw clenched with the realization that raw power meant nothing here. This was a battle of politics and perception, and Palpatine had spent decades perfecting his public image. But let's explore your theory, Palpatine continued, warming to his role. Suppose I were this Sith Lord you speak of. What would be my end game? I already have emergency powers. The Senate defers to me. The Jedi serve as my generals. If I wanted to rule as a dictator, I could simply not give up power when the war ends. Why would I need this elaborate conspiracy? Because overt tyranny invites rebellion, Wonder Woman said, entering the office with Green Lantern and the Flash. She'd been listening through their communication system. But if you make people beg for tyranny, if you create such fear and chaos that they willingly surrender freedom for security, then you become not a dictator, but a savior. That's your plan, isn't it? Make the crisis so terrible that the galaxy accepts absolute rule as necessary. Palpatine's smile was patient, almost pitying. You speak from your own universe's experience, Princess Diana, but our galaxy is not your Earth. We have different traditions, different threats. The Jedi Order has protected the Republic for 1,000 generations. Do you truly believe I could simply declare myself emperor, and they would allow it? Unless you eliminated the Jedi first, Batman said coldly. That's what the clone army is really for, isn't it? Not to fight separatists, but to execute Order 66, a contingency protocol buried in every clone's programming that would make them turn on their Jedi commanders. The room fell silent. Anakin's face went pale. That's impossible. The clones would never... They wouldn't have a choice. Cyborg's voice came through their comms as he accessed the Kaminoan genetic archives remotely. Oh God, Bruce was right. There are behavioral modification chips in every clone's brain. Organic computer interfaces that can override their conscious will with pre-programmed directives. Order 66 is real. It's in their heads, waiting to be activated. Palpatine's expression flickered, not with guilt, but with annoyance that they'd discovered this particular secret. But he recovered instantly. More illegal hacking, more conspiracy theories. Even if such protocols existed, they would be contingencies against rogue Jedi, safeguards to protect the Republic from Force users who might turn against democracy. Like the Jedi who've been protecting the Republic for millennia. Superman's voice carried disgust. You've rigged the galaxy's defenders with kill switches and you call it safeguards. I call it prudence, Palpatine replied, his voice taking on an edge. The Jedi have immense power. They answer to no government, operate by their own code, and claim authority from the Force itself. Tell me, Superman, aren't you describing exactly what the Senate feared about the Justice League? Power without oversight is dangerous, regardless of who wields it. The argument hit harder than any of them wanted to admit. They'd been making the same point about accountability for days. But there was a difference between democratic oversight and genocide waiting in genetic programming. The flash vibrated with barely contained energy. Okay, this is getting us nowhere. We know you're Sidious. You know we know. So what happens now? We fight, you call guards? This all comes down to who the Senate believes. Actually, Palpatine said, standing slowly, it comes down to what you can do without proof. You could attack me, certainly. Superman alone could probably kill me before my guards arrived. But then what? You've murdered the Supreme Chancellor based on theories and illegally obtained evidence. The Senate would declare you criminals. The Jedi would hunt you. The entire Republic would unite against you. Or, he continued, moving to the window, you could accept that sometimes the world, the galaxy, is more complicated than heroes and villains. Perhaps I have made morally questionable decisions. Perhaps I have consolidated power during a crisis. But I did so to save the Republic from tearing itself apart. When this war ends, I will restore democracy. I give you my word. The word of a Sith Lord, Wonder Woman said. Forgive me if we find that less than reassuring. Palpatine turned back to them, and for just a moment, his mask slipped. His eyes held something ancient and terrible, a darkness that made even Superman tense. You have no idea what I am, Princess, but you're about to learn that some games are played on levels you cannot comprehend. He pressed a button on his desk. Instantly, every monitor in the building activated, showing a pre-recorded message from Palpatine himself. People of the Republic, the recording began. I come to you with a heavy heart. The Justice League, the beings we welcomed as potential allies, have attempted to assassinate me in my own office. They claim I am secretly a Sith Lord, a laughable accusation without evidence. But their violent extremism reveals their true nature. They are not heroes. They are dangerous radicals who believe their power gives them the right to overthrow legitimate governments. The recording continued, showing edited footage of the League's confrontations, Superman destroying droids, Wonder Woman fighting in combat, Batman in shadows looking sinister, all true moments but framed to appear threatening rather than heroic. I am calling for the immediate arrest and detention of all Justice League members. The recorded Palpatine concluded. They are wanted for attempted assassination, conspiracy against the Republic, and crimes against galactic security. To any citizens harboring them, you will be prosecuted. To the Justice League, surrender peacefully and you will receive fair trial. Resist, and you prove my accusations true. The real Palpatine smiled sadly at their shocked faces. I recorded that message 2 hours ago, along with 50 variants depending on what you might say or do. Whichever path you chose, I was prepared. That's what you don't understand about power, Superman. Real power isn't about strength or speed. It's about controlling the narrative. You've just declared war on us, Batman said quietly. No, Palpatine corrected. I've declared you enemies of the state. There's a difference. Now you have a choice. Flee, fight, or surrender. But know that every decision you make from this moment forward will be interpreted through the lens I've created. Save civilians? You're using them as shields. Fight clone troopers? You're proving my accusations. Try to reveal the truth? You're spreading conspiracy theories. Anakin stood frozen, his world crumbling. His mentor, the man he'd trusted above all others, had just framed the League as terrorists with the same political skill that had prolonged a galactic war. This can't be happening. Chancellor, tell me this is some kind of test. Tell me you're not really. Anakin, Palpatine's voice was gentle now, almost fatherly. I am exactly what I've always been, a man doing what's necessary to protect the Republic. These outsiders don't understand our galaxy. They've brought their simplistic morality to a complex situation and declared themselves judges. I'm simply protecting us from their misguided interference. Superman's fists clenched. Every instinct screamed to grab Palpatine, to expose him by force if necessary, but Batman's hand on his shoulder stopped him. We leave, Batman said. Now, this office is certainly monitored and recorded. Anything we do here becomes evidence for his narrative. Smart, Palpatine acknowledged. The detective understands. So here's what happens next. You run, you hide. You try to find evidence that will exonerate you, and while you do, I continue leading the Republic, winning the war, and preparing for the galaxy I'm going to build. By the time you have proof, if you ever do, it will be far too late. Green Lantern's ring flared. We could end this right now. Take you into custody, bring you before the guardians of Oa, and violate Republic sovereignty? Palpatine interrupted. Your guardians have no jurisdiction in this galaxy, Lantern. You're not an intergalactic police force here. You're just 7 very powerful criminals resisting arrest. The Justice League stood at a crossroads. They could fight their way out. The combined might of Superman, Wonder Woman, and the others could break through any security. But doing so would prove Palpatine's accusations in the eyes of trillions. Or they could surrender and trust in a legal system, Sidious controlled. Or they could run, becoming fugitives while searching for evidence to expose the truth. We're leaving, Superman said finally. But this isn't over, Chancellor. We will prove what you are. And when we do, the galaxy will see you for the monster you've always been. Perhaps, Palpatine replied serenely, or perhaps they'll see you for the threat you represent. Time will tell. As the League retreated, Palpatine activated his private comm. "Lord Vader, the trap is sprung. The Justice League is now wanted criminals. Deploy the Inquisitorius and coordinate with clone forces. I want them captured or eliminated within the week." "Yes, my master," came a dark, mechanical voice that would haunt Anakin Skywalker's nightmares if he'd still been in the room to hear it. The game had changed. The Justice League had gone from heroes to hunted, and Darth Sidious had just proven that sometimes the greatest power wasn't physical might, but the ability to shape reality through words. The Jedi Temple's lower levels had served as sanctuaries for 1,000 generations, meditation chambers where Force users sought clarity away from Coruscant's chaos. Now they served as a war room for Earth's greatest heroes, turned galactic fugitives. The Justice League huddled with their few remaining allies, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and a handful of Jedi who'd witnessed Palpatine's political maneuvering and suspected the truth. "The clone army has orders to apprehend us on sight," Cyborg reported, his systems monitoring Republic communications. "Every spaceport is locked down. Our images are on every holonet broadcast across the core worlds. Palpatine's painting us as dimensional terrorists who tried to assassinate him and overthrow the Republic." "And half the Senate believes him," Obi-Wan added grimly, reviewing political feeds on his datapad. "Bail Organa and Padme are trying to argue for due process, but they're being shouted down. The war has made people desperate for security, and Palpatine represents stability. Questioning him feels like questioning the Republic itself." Batman paced like a caged predator, his detective's mind racing through scenarios. "We need irrefutable evidence, something so undeniable that even Palpatine's propaganda can't spin it. The biometric encryption isn't enough. We need him on record as Sidious, or we need to force him to reveal himself publicly." "He won't," Wonder Woman said, her warrior's instincts recognizing a strategic mind as sharp as her own. "Sidious has been playing this game for decades. He's patient, methodical, and has contingencies for his contingencies. We won't catch him in a mistake because he doesn't make mistakes." Superman stood by the chamber window, his super-hearing tracking clone battalions moving through the temple's upper levels. Mace Windu was negotiating with them, buying time, but the Jedi Council was fracturing. Some masters believed the League's accusations. Others saw them as dangerous outsiders who'd brought chaos to the Republic. The Council couldn't protect them much longer. "We're running out of time," Superman said quietly. "The clones will search down here eventually. When they do, we either fight our way out and prove Palpatine's narrative, or we surrender and disappear into his prison system." "There's a third option," Anakin said, his voice hollow with betrayal and confusion. He'd barely spoken since leaving Palpatine's office, his worldview shattered by the realization that his mentor might be the Sith Lord they'd been hunting. "We find Count Dooku." Everyone turned to stare at him. "Think about it," Anakin continued, his tactical mind finally cutting through emotional turmoil. "Dooku is Sidious's apprentice. He knows the truth. If we can capture him, make him confess." "The lasso of truth," Batman finished, his eyes lighting with grim satisfaction. Dooku, bound by Wonder Woman's lasso, couldn't lie. His confession would be ironclad. "Assuming we can find him," Green Lantern said. "The Separatist leadership has been hiding for 3 years. What makes you think we can locate Dooku in the next few hours?" "Because I know where he is," Ahsoka said quietly, pulling up a holographic star chart. Master Plo Koon intercepted separatist communications 2 days ago. Dooku is personally overseeing operations from a dreadnought above Invisible Hand in the Corellian sector. He's vulnerable, relatively speaking, but it's deep in separatist space. The Flash whistled low. So we're wanted criminals planning to break into enemy territory, to kidnap their military leader and force a confession that our political opponent is secretly a Sith Lord. This is either brilliant or the worst plan ever. It's both, Batman acknowledged, but it's all we have. The question is how we get there. Every Republic ship is under orders to detain us. We can't exactly requisition a cruiser. We don't need to, Cyborg said, his cybernetic eye glowing as he interfaced with the temple systems. The Jedi have diplomatic vessels that aren't officially part of the Republic military. They're protected by religious neutrality clauses. If we use one of those, we'll be violating Jedi neutrality and potentially getting the Order declared enemies of the state alongside us, Obi-Wan finished. He was silent for a moment, then made a decision that would echo through galactic history. Do it. The Jedi have been complicit in this war's perpetuation through our silence and inaction. If the Order falls because we finally chose to act righteously, then perhaps we deserve to fall. Mace Windu's voice crackled over the comm. Obi-Wan, what are you doing? I can sense your intent through the Force. I'm ending this war, Master, Obi-Wan replied firmly. One way or another, may the Force forgive us if we're wrong and guide us if we're right. 20 minutes later, a small Jedi diplomatic courier ship screamed away from Coruscant. Republic fighters in pursuit. Superman and Wonder Woman flew alongside, deflecting turbo-laser fire while Green Lantern's constructs provided additional shielding. The Flash vibrated the ship's hull to scatter targeting sensors. Aquaman, distinctly uncomfortable in a space battle, hung on and tried not to think about how far they were from any ocean. Jumping to hyperspace in 3, 2, 1. Cyborg initiated the jump, and the stars elongated into the familiar tunnel of faster-than-light travel. They'd escaped Coruscant, but now the entire Republic military would be hunting them. The journey through hyperspace gave them precious hours to plan. Batman laid out the assault on Dooku's flagship with the precision he'd used to infiltrate everything from Arkham Asylum to Apocalypse itself. Cyborg interfaces with their systems, shuts down communication so Dooku can't call for reinforcement. Flash takes out the droid security at super speed. Superman and Wonder Woman provide the muscle against Dooku's guards. Green Lantern maintains our escape route. Aquaman... I'll make sure nobody sneaks up on us, Aquaman finished. I know I'm out of my element in space, but I've still got Atlantean strength and combat training. I can hold a corridor. And I'll confront Dooku directly, Wonder Woman said, her hand on the lasso of truth. He's fought Jedi for years. He won't be expecting an Amazon warrior princess. Anakin checked his lightsaber, his face a mask of controlled fury. I'm coming too. Dooku killed my first master. I have personal reasons to want answers from him. Obi-Wan placed a hand on his former Padawan's shoulder. Your anger is justified, Anakin. But remember, we need him alive and talking. This isn't about revenge. Isn't it? Anakin's voice was raw. The Chancellor, Palpatine, Sidious, whatever we're calling him, he's been manipulating me since I was a child. Grooming me, maybe. Using me. Every conversation, every piece of advice, every moment of trust, it was all calculated, part of his plan. So yeah, maybe this is about revenge. Maybe I want Dooku to suffer for what he and his master have done to the galaxy." "Then you're already falling," Batman said bluntly, making Anakin spin to face him. "I've seen what revenge does to people, kid. I've lived it. My parents were murdered when I was 8 years old, and I spent years consumed by the need to make criminals pay. You know what that got me? A lonely existence fighting an unwinnable war until I realized revenge isn't justice. It's just anger with a direction." Superman stepped between them. "Anakin, we will make Palpatine answer for his crimes, but we do it the right way, by exposing the truth, not by becoming like him. You're better than your anger. I've seen it. You saved lives on Christophsis. You've protected your Padawan. Don't let Sidious's manipulation corrupt who you really are." Anakin was silent for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "You're right, both of you, but it's hard. He was like a father to me, and all along he was—" His voice broke. "How did I not see it?" "Because he's very, very good at what he does," Obi-Wan said gently. "The dark side clouds perception, Anakin. Even the Council was blind to Sidious's presence. Don't blame yourself for being deceived by a master manipulator." The ship dropped out of hyperspace in the Corellian sector, and immediately alarms screamed. Dooku's dreadnought invisible hand filled the viewport, surrounded by a fleet of separatist frigates and a screen of vulture droids. "Well," the Flash said, vibrating with nervous energy, "no turning back now. Everyone ready to commit high treason against a galactic government while assaulting enemy territory to kidnap a Sith Lord?" "Just another Tuesday," Green Lantern quipped, his ring already forming combat constructs. The assault was surgical and overwhelming. Superman tore through the invisible hand's shields with heat vision, creating an entry point. Wonder Woman flew through behind him, her sword gleaming. The Flash vibrated through the hull, appearing in the ship's command center before droid defenders could react. Cyborg's technopathy turned half the ship's systems against their operators. But Count Dooku was no helpless target. When the League breached his personal chambers, they found the Sith Lord waiting, his curved lightsaber ignited, his presence in the Force like ice water. "The Justice League," Dooku said with aristocratic disdain. "My master predicted you would come. He even predicted the precise moment, the exact approach vector. Did you truly believe you could surprise a Sith Lord who's spent decades planning every contingency?" "We don't need to surprise you," Wonder Woman said, advancing with her lasso ready. "We just need to beat you." "Do you?" Dooku gestured, and the Force itself seemed to turn against them. Superman felt an invisible pressure trying to crush his lungs. It failed against his Kryptonian physiology, but the attempt was there. Wonder Woman's advance slowed as Dooku used telekinesis to increase her effective weight 1,000-fold. Even Green Lantern's constructs flickered under dark side assault. "Your powers are impressive," Dooku acknowledged, fighting defensively while assessing their capabilities. "But you don't understand the Force. It's not merely energy or strength, it's the fundamental nature of reality itself, and I have studied it for 70 years. Anakin ignited his lightsaber and charged, his form aggressive and powerful. Dooku parried effortlessly, his defensive style perfected over decades. "Young Skywalker," Dooku said almost fondly, still charging in with passion over technique. "My master spoke truly. You would have made a magnificent Sith." "I'm nothing like you," Anakin roared, his attacks becoming wilder. "You're exactly like me," Dooku countered, using the Force to throw Anakin into a wall. Powerful, talented, and betrayed by the Jedi's dogmatic teachings. The only difference is I had the courage to embrace the dark side. You're still pretending their philosophy works. But while Dooku focused on Anakin and the Force users, he made a critical mistake. He underestimated Batman. The Dark Knight had been studying the Sith Lord's fighting style, identifying patterns and weaknesses. When Dooku's attention was divided, Batman deployed a device he'd constructed specifically for Force users, an ultrasonic emitter calibrated to disrupt concentration. Dooku's eyes widened as his Force connection wavered. The disruption lasted only seconds, but seconds were enough. Wonder Woman's lasso snaked out and caught his wrist. The lasso of truth blazed with divine light, and Count Dooku's aristocratic composure shattered as truth forced its way into his mind. "Who is Darth Sidious?" Wonder Woman demanded. Dooku tried to resist, his Sith training fighting against the lasso's compulsion, but divine magic was not the Force, and it operated on principles his dark side mastery couldn't counter. "Sheev Palpatine," he gasped out, "Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic, my master, Darth Sidious." "What is his plan?" Batman pressed. "Turn the clone army against the Jedi. Order 66. Eliminate all Force users who could challenge him. Declare himself Emperor. Rule the galaxy through fear and military power." Dooku's voice was strangled, each word torn from him against his will. Cyborg was recording everything. "Got it. Full confession. Verified through technology that can't be faked. This is our evidence." But even as victory seemed within reach, the ship's alarms blared. Palpatine's voice echoed through every speaker. "Justice League, you've performed admirably. Just as I predicted. Count Dooku's confession is quite compelling. Unfortunately, no one will ever hear it." The viewport exploded inward as the entire Separatist fleet opened fire on the Invisible Hand, on Dooku's own flagship. Palpatine was sacrificing his apprentice and attempting to eliminate the League in one stroke. "He's trying to kill us all," Ahsoka shouted over the explosions. "Including Dooku," Obi-Wan realized. "He's eliminating loose ends." Superman's eyes blazed. "Everyone to me, Green Lantern, maximum shield." "We're getting out of here." The League fought their way back to their ship, through a vessel tearing itself apart under friendly fire. They carried the bound Count Dooku with them, a broken Sith Lord who just realized his master considered him as expendable as everyone else. As they escaped in their damaged courier ship, cyborg systems transmitted Dooku's confession across every communication frequency he could access. The holonet, military channels, diplomatic networks. He flooded the galaxy with truth. "It's out there," Cyborg confirmed. "Millions, maybe billions, have seen it already. Palpatine can't suppress this." "But will they believe it?" Superman asked grimly. "Or will they call it propaganda, fake recordings, desperate accusations from wanted criminals?" The answer came within hours as they limped toward the outer rim. The galaxy erupted in chaos. Some systems believed the confession and called for Palpatine's immediate arrest. Others declared it obvious fabrication. The Senate fractured, military units questioned their orders, and in the eye of the storm, Darth Sidious prepared to make his final move. The Justice League had exposed the conspiracy. Now they had to survive the explosion. The galaxy burned with civil strife as Count Dooku's confession rippled across every world, every system, every citizen connected to the holonet. But Darth Sidious hadn't spent decades orchestrating the Clone Wars to be undone by a single revelation. Within hours of the broadcast, Palpatine addressed the Republic with a performance that would be studied for generations, assuming any historian survived what came next. "My fellow citizens," Palpatine began, his face projecting sorrow and resignation through every holonet display. "The confession you've seen is genuine. Count Dooku spoke truly, under torture and coercion by the Justice League's reality-altering weapons. Yes, I am Darth Sidious. Yes, I have manipulated events, but not for power, for survival." The admission shocked even those who'd believed the worst about him. Palpatine was confessing? 1,000 years ago, the Jedi nearly exterminated the Sith, he continued, his voice heavy with calculated emotion. "They declared us evil, hunted us to near extinction, all because we dared to question their monopoly on Force teachings. I have spent my life preparing for the day when the Jedi Order would inevitably betray the Republic, just as they're doing now, harboring the Justice League fugitives who attacked your Chancellor." Superman watched the broadcast from their hidden base on a remote moon, his fists clenched. He's spinning it, making himself the victim. "And it's working," Cyborg reported grimly, monitoring public sentiment across communication networks. "Approval for the Jedi is cratering. Half the Senate is calling for their immediate oversight or dissolution. He's turning his greatest liability into a weapon against the one force that could stop him." Palpatine's image spread his hands in a gesture of transparency. "I orchestrated the Clone Wars, yes, but only to create an army capable of protecting the Republic from the Jedi when they inevitably turned against democracy. Order 66 isn't a contingency against the Jedi Order. It's protection for the Republic, and recent events have proven its necessity. The Jedi Temple harbored dimensional criminals. Jedi Knights assisted in the kidnapping and torture of a separatist leader. The Order has chosen their side, and it is not with the people." "He's going to execute Order 66, Obi-Wan said, his voice hollow. "Right now, he's setting the stage to exterminate the Jedi, and the public will cheer." "We have to stop him," Anakin insisted. "Get to Coruscant. Expose him further. Protect the temple." "Protect it with what?" Batman challenged. "We're 7 people against a galactic military. Even Superman can't be everywhere at once." "Then we go for the head," Wonder Woman declared. "We end Palpatine personally, remove him from power by force if necessary." "And prove everything he's said about us," Batman countered. "That we're dangerous radicals who overthrow governments that don't meet our standards. Diana, if we kill Palpatine, we become exactly what he's accused us of being." The argument was interrupted by an unexpected transmission. Bail Organa's face appeared on their holographic communicator, transmitted through encrypted channels. "Justice League, if you're receiving this, you need to know. Palpatine has called a special Senate session in 1 hour. He's going to declare himself emperor and order the execution of all Jedi. And according to my sources in the military, he's going to deploy the Inquisitorius, Darth Vader, and the entire clone army to enforce his new regime." "Vader?" Superman asked. "Who's Vader?" Bale's expression was grim. "A new Sith enforcer, appeared within hours of Dooku's confession, wears black armor, wields a red lightsaber, and has Force abilities that reportedly rival the greatest Jedi Masters. Some say he's a corrupted Jedi. Others claim he's something Palpatine created. Either way, he's already killed 3 Council Masters who tried to arrest the Chancellor." Anakin's face went pale. Through the Force, he felt something, a disturbance, A familiar presence twisted into darkness. No, it can't be. Obi-Wan sensed it too. Anakin. What is it? I need to go to Coruscant, Anakin said urgently. Right now, please. I have to stop something terrible from happening. Superman studied the young Jedi's face and saw genuine terror. We all go. If Palpatine's making his final move, the Justice League will be there, but not for revenge or assassination. We bear witness. We document everything, and we protect as many innocents as we can. The Jedi Temple was under siege when they arrived. Clone troopers, soldiers who'd fought alongside Jedi for 3 years, now executed their former commanders with cold efficiency. Order 66 had been transmitted, the inhibitor chips activated, and the Jedi Order, already weakened and scattered, was being systematically exterminated. Superman's heat vision carved through the clone formations, besieging the temple entrance. Careful to disable rather than kill. Everyone inside, get the Jedi to safety. Wonder Woman deflected blaster bolts with her bracers, her Amazonian speed letting her protect a dozen younglings simultaneously. Obi-Wan, get the children out. We'll hold the line. But it was in the Senate chamber where the galaxy's fate would truly be decided. Palpatine stood before thousands of senators, his dark robes replacing the humble garments of a chancellor. Lightning crackled at his fingertips, no longer hiding his Sith nature. The Republic has fallen, he declared, his voice carrying absolute authority. In its place rises the first Galactic Empire, an empire that will bring order, security, and peace to a galaxy torn apart by Jedi manipulation and separatist rebellion. Many senators cheered, others sat in stunned silence. And Padme Amidala stood, her voice cutting through the applause. This is how liberty dies, she said, her words transmitted across the galaxy, with thunderous applause. Batman and Cyborg infiltrated the Senate chamber's technical systems, recording everything, broadcasting Palpatine's transformation to every corner of the galaxy. Let the people see what their chancellor had become. Let them witness tyranny born from manufactured crisis. But Palpatine had prepared for this too. Citizens of the new empire, you see before you the beginning of a new age. But there are those who would resist. The Justice League, dimensional criminals who attacked your emperor, who kidnapped and tortured Count Dooku, who even now assault the loyal clone troopers protecting this city. Holographic displays showed Superman fighting clones. Wonder Woman in combat, all true images but framed as unprovoked attacks rather than defense of innocence. I hereby declare the Justice League enemies of the Empire, Palpatine proclaimed. Any who harbor them will be tried for treason. Any who assist them will share their fate. And to ensure compliance, he gestured and the doors to the Senate chamber burst open. Through them strode a figure in black armor and a flowing cape, breathing through a mechanical respirator. The dark presence in the Force was overwhelming, a void of pain and hatred that made even hardened senators recoil. This is my enforcer, Palpatine announced. Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith. He will bring order to the galaxy. Anakin Skywalker, watching through their surveillance feeds, screamed. Through the Force, he felt the truth, felt the familiar presence beneath the armor, corrupted and twisted, beyond recognition. That's impossible, he whispered. It can't be. I'm still here. I'm still me. How can Vader exist? Obi-Wan's eyes widened with horrible understanding. The Force showed Anakin visions of himself as Vader, possibilities of what he could become if he fell to the dark side. Palpatine must have found someone else, Another force-sensitive, powerful enough to corrupt, broken enough to rebuild as his weapon. Batman's analytical mind processed the implications. Palpatine created Vader as insurance, someone to be the face of the Empire's brutality, while he remains the benevolent Emperor, someone who can hunt Jedi, enforce his will, and if necessary, be sacrificed if public opinion turns against the Sith. Vader's mechanical breathing filled the Senate chamber as he surveyed the assembled politicians. The Emperor has spoken. Those who swear loyalty to the Empire will be spared. Those who resist. His hand gestured, and 3 senators who'd been vocal critics of Palpatine were lifted by the Force, choking, dying in front of trillions of witnesses. Those who resist will be eliminated. The Senate erupted in panic. Some senators pledged loyalty immediately. Others fled. A few brave souls, Padme, Bail, Mon Mothma, stood in silent protest, knowing their words meant nothing now. Superman had seen enough. He burst through the Senate chamber's transparasteel dome, cape billowing, landing between Vader and the senators with an impact that cracked marble. "No more," he said simply. "The killing stops. Now." Vader's masked face tilted, studying this being who'd just shattered supposedly unbreakable material with casual ease. "You are Superman, the dimensional anomaly. The Emperor predicted you would interfere. Then he also predicted I don't stand by and watch innocents die." Superman's eyes began to glow. "Walk away, Vader. You don't want this fight." "On the contrary," Vader replied, igniting his crimson lightsaber. "I have waited to test myself against true power." They clashed in the center of galactic democracy, Kryptonian might against Sith fury. Vader's lightsaber couldn't cut Superman's invulnerable skin. Superman's punches were carefully calibrated to disable rather than kill, but Vader's force abilities created complications. He couldn't choke Superman, but he could use telekinesis to hurl Senate platforms, debris, even other people as weapons. "You fight with restraint," Vader observed, deflecting a punch that would have shattered a building. "You could kill me easily, yet you hold back. Weakness." "Mercy," Superman corrected, using heat vision to melt Vader's lightsaber blade. "There's a difference. You were a person once. You can be again." For just a moment, something flickered in Vader's presence. Pain, regret, recognition. Then it was buried under dark side fury. "I am more than I ever was. The Emperor showed me truth. Power is the only reality. Everything else is illusion." Wonder Woman arrived with the rest of the League, forming a protective barrier between Vader, Palpatine, and the fleeing senators. "We're evacuating civilians," she called to Superman. "Green Lanterns creating escape routes. Flash is getting people to safety. We need to pull back before this gets worse." "It's already worse," Batman reported over comms. "The clone army is executing Jedi across the entire galaxy. Order 66 is in full effect. The temple is in flames. Palpatine's won." "No," Anakin said, his voice carrying across their communication system with terrible clarity. "He's won a battle, but wars are decided by who refuses to surrender. The Jedi taught me that. And if the Order falls, we build something new, something better." Palpatine's laughter echoed through the Senate chamber. "Spoken like a true believer, young Skywalker, but belief doesn't deflect blasters. The Empire is inevitable. The Jedi are finished. And the Justice League," he gestured to Vader, "will learn that even gods can fall." Superman met Vader's attack again, this time joined by Wonder Woman. The two greatest fighters from Earth's dimension fought the Sith Lord in a battle that would be remembered for generations. But even as they fought, they were protecting, shielding senators, preventing collateral damage, ensuring evacuation routes remained open. "We can't win this fight," Superman admitted, deflecting Vader's Force lightning with his own body to protect fleeing civilians, not without becoming what Palpatine claims we are. "Then we don't fight to win," Wonder Woman replied, her lasso catching Vader's arm. "We fight to save everyone we can and expose the truth." "The truth," Vader snarled, breaking free of the lasso through sheer dark side power, "is that the strong rule and the weak serve. The Emperor understands this. You will too, before the end." But as the battle raged and the last senators fled to safety, Cyborg completed his work. Every moment of Palpatine's transformation had been recorded, broadcast, and stored on 1,000,000 servers across the galaxy. Vader's atrocities, Palpatine's declaration of empire, Order 66, all documented. The truth was out there, indestructible, undeniable. "We need to leave," Batman insisted over comms. "Now, Palpatine will have Star Destroyers here within minutes. We've saved who we can. We've exposed what we could. If we stay, we die." Superman took one last look at the Senate chamber, now a symbol of democracy destroyed, and nodded. "Justice League, fall back. We regroup and figure out what comes next." They fled Coruscant as the first Galactic Empire rose from the ashes of the Republic. Behind them, Darth Vader stood in the ruins of the Senate chamber, breathing mechanically, a monument to what the dark side could create from pain and hatred. "They will return," Vader told his master. "Let them," Palpatine replied, surveying his new empire with satisfaction. "They've already served their purpose, providing the chaos needed to justify my ascension. When they return, the full might of the Empire will be waiting." But in hidden bases across the Outer Rim, in secret meetings and encrypted communications, resistance was already forming. The Jedi who'd survived Order 66, joined by senators who'd fled, clone troopers whose inhibitor chips had malfunctioned, and entire systems that refused to bow to tyranny. And at the center of this new rebellion stood the Justice League, 7 heroes from another dimension who'd arrived in a galaxy at war and chosen to fight for justice, even when it meant becoming fugitives. Superman addressed the assembled rebels from their hidden asteroid base, his voice carrying hope despite everything they'd lost. "The Empire controls the Senate, the military, and most of known space," he acknowledged. "But they don't control the truth. They don't control hope. And they definitely don't control us. We came to this galaxy by accident, but we're staying by choice. We're staying until this empire falls and freedom is restored." Wonder Woman stood beside him. "We've fought tyrants before. We've toppled dictatorships, exposed conspiracies, and stood against overwhelming odds. This is what the Justice League does. We don't give up. We don't surrender. And we sure as hell don't let evil win without a fight." Batman pulled up strategic maps showing Imperial weak points, potential allies, resources they could exploit. "Palpatine thinks he's won because he controls the government, but governments fall when the people they're supposed to serve reject them. We don't need to defeat the Empire militarily. We need to show the galaxy that resistance is possible, and inspire enough people to join us that the Empire becomes unsustainable." The Flash grinned despite everything. "So basically we're starting a galactic rebellion against a Sith Lord Emperor with unlimited military resources and force powers that can choke people through video calls. This is either the best idea we've ever had or the absolute worst." Both, Obi-Wan said, stepping forward with Ahsoka and the surviving Jedi. But it's the only idea we have. The old Jedi Order is gone. Palpatine destroyed it. What rises from those ashes will be different, stronger, humbler, more connected to the people we're supposed to protect. And with the Justice League as allies, we actually have a chance. Anakin activated a holographic recorder, preparing to send a message across rebel networks. Citizens of the galaxy who still believe in freedom, this is Anakin Skywalker. The Republic has fallen, but hope survives. The Justice League, beings of incredible power who came to our galaxy, seeking nothing but to help. They're fighting for us. They're risking everything to protect people they've never met, on worlds they've never seen. If they can fight for our freedom, what's our excuse for not fighting for our own? The message spread like wildfire across underground networks. On 1,000 worlds, the people watched 7 aliens, outsiders with no stake in galactic politics, stand up to an empire because it was the right thing to do. And slowly, inevitably, the rebellion began to grow. In the Imperial Palace on Coruscant, Darth Sidious watched these developments with cold calculation. The Justice League thought they could inspire resistance. Let them try. Every rebel they recruited was another target for the Empire to eliminate. Every hope they kindled was another light he would extinguish. And when he was finished, when the galaxy bowed before the Empire's might, these dimensional heroes would witness everything they'd fought for crumble to dust. But Palpatine made one critical miscalculation, the same mistake tyrants had been making since time immemorial. He assumed power and fear were enough. He didn't understand that the Justice League represented something the galaxy had never seen. Heroes who genuinely couldn't be corrupted, bought, or broken. They'd survived Darkseid, defeated Doomsday, and thwarted the Anti-Monitor. A Sith Emperor, no matter how powerful, was just another villain to overcome. The Clone Wars had ended. The Galactic Civil War was about to begin. And the Justice League, stranded in a galaxy far from home, had found their purpose. They would fight. They would resist. And they would show this strange new universe what Earth's greatest heroes could accomplish when they refused to surrender justice, no matter the cost. The Justice League's arrival in the Star Wars galaxy had fundamentally altered the course of history. What might have been a slow, grinding fall from Republic to Empire had instead become an explosive transformation, with Earth's heroes serving as catalysts for change they hadn't anticipated and couldn't fully control. In the weeks following Palpatine's ascension, the Empire consolidated power with ruthless efficiency. Star destroyers patrolled every major hyperspace lane. Stormtroopers, the evolved descendants of clone troopers, enforced imperial law on thousands of worlds, and Darth Vader became the face of the Empire's brutality, hunting surviving Jedi with single-minded determination. But for every Jedi who fell, a dozen rebels rose in their place, inspired by the Justice League's refusal to bow before tyranny. The League had achieved something unexpected. They'd become symbols. Superman represented hope that even overwhelming power could be used for good rather than conquest. Wonder Woman embodied the warrior's code that stood against oppression regardless of personal cost. Batman proved that even without superhuman abilities, strategic brilliance could challenge empires. The Flash, Green Lantern, Cyborg, and Aquaman each inspired different aspects of resistance: speed over slavery, will over subjugation, innovation over stagnation, and strength in defense of the vulnerable. But their greatest impact wasn't in battles won or Imperial facilities destroyed. It was in the question they'd forced the entire galaxy to confront. What does justice look like when governments fail, when traditional institutions collapse, and when the only choice is between surrendering to tyranny or fighting for principles that seem impossibly distant? The Justice League didn't have all the answers. They'd made mistakes, misjudged situations, and sometimes created as much chaos as they'd prevented. But they'd never stopped trying to do the right thing, even when right was complicated, costly, and uncertain. On remote worlds across the Outer Rim, children played games about Superman fighting Darth Vader. In hidden rebel bases, strategists studied Batman's tactical innovations. In Force-sensitive enclaves, young apprentices learned from both Jedi teachings and Wonder Woman's warrior philosophy, a synthesis of traditions that might eventually birth something greater than either alone. Palpatine's empire was powerful, vast, and backed by military might that dwarfed anything Earth had ever fielded. But the rebellion that opposed it had something the Emperor couldn't replicate: genuine inspiration. People fighting not because they were ordered to, or because they'd been programmed, or because they sought power, but because 7 strangers from another dimension had shown them that standing for justice was worth any price. The war between Empire and Rebellion would continue for years, perhaps decades. The Justice League was still searching for a way home, still stranded in a universe not their own. But they'd found something equally important, a cause that needed them, people worth protecting, and proof that heroism transcended dimensions, species, and the vast gulf between galaxies. Somewhere in the unknown regions, in a secret base protected by Superman's labor and Wonder Woman's warrior skill, Batman studied star charts showing potential weak points in Imperial infrastructure. The Flash trained rebel pilots in unconventional tactics. Green Lantern created constructs that taught engineers how to improve rebel technology. Cyborg developed countermeasures to Imperial surveillance. Aquaman worked with aquatic species the Empire had overlooked. And the rebellion grew stronger with each passing day. Darth Sidious had won his empire, but the Justice League had ensured he would never know peace. Every day the League remained free was a day that proved the Emperor wasn't omnipotent. Every Imperial defeat at rebel hands demonstrated that tyranny could be resisted. And every being across the galaxy who looked at the stars and thought, if aliens from another dimension can fight for our freedom, why can't I? Was another nail in the Empire's eventual coffin. The Justice League's journey through the Star Wars galaxy had only just begun. They would face Vader again. They would clash with Palpatine's forces across countless worlds. They would lose friends, suffer defeats, and question whether they were making things better or worse. But they would never stop fighting, because that's what heroes do. Especially when stranded far from home, with nothing but their principles and the conviction that justice, real justice, was worth dying for. The Force had brought balance to the galaxy, but not in the way the Jedi had prophesied. 7 beings with no connection to the Force itself had arrived and reminded everyone that the light side wasn't about midi-chlorians or mystical destiny. It was about choice. The choice to stand up when kneeling would be easier. The choice to fight when surrendering would be safer. The choice to hope when despair seemed inevitable. And as long as the Justice League remained in that galaxy far, far away, that choice would always be available. May the Force be with you. More stories await.